You're listening to the Tumbling Saber Podcast, a member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Check us out on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com, on iTunes, Facebook, and Twitter, and take your first step into a larger world. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 68 of the Tumbling Saber Podcast. My name is Kyle.
I'm Corey.
And I'm James.
And boy oh boy, have we got a huge, packed, busy show for you. Really excited to get into that. We've got stuff about the Han Solo movie. We've got The Last Jedi to talk about. We've got Rogue One, alternate reality to talk about. We've got Knights of the Commonwealth stepping up to the plate to help us push this show further. But first, let's do a quick catch up with the guys. Corey, how's it going, man?
Not too bad. Saw an old friend this weekend. Kept it real. It was the one where we podcasted that Sunday this summer, and he just destroyed me. He'd come down from Toronto, and I think I had a 3-day hangover from that one. But no, I kept it real. I was home early, and thank God for that.
Yeah, did you make any time for your birthday brother this weekend?
No.
Of course not.
How did that go anyhow? I heard you got some Star Wars toys.
I did. My wife opened up a new can of worms and found a store, an indie toy store nearby that sells the Disney Elite figures. So now I am the proud owner of, if you follow on Instagram, you saw it. I've got K2SO in the Disney Elite series, as well as a First Order Stormtrooper Commander, which are super cool on the shelf here behind me. But I just had to see this little toy shop by myself. It's been open not for very long, so I had to go check it out for myself. So I went there yesterday and walked out with the Rey figure from the Disney Elite series, which in my mind feels like a 2-for-1 because it's got the little BB-8 with it.
That's what I was saying about the Black Series one too. It comes with BB-8.
Yeah, I didn't like the likeness of Rey in that series, so I never bought it.
Cool.
But yeah, that was the extent of my Star Wars content for birthday weekend. Aside from the gift of 0 Hour parts 1 and 2, which we'll get to a bit later. But first, James, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. Looking forward to starting a new week. It's been a busy weekend, but that's how it goes when you got youngsters running around. You know how it is.
I absolutely do. So look, let's not beat around the bush. We've got so much to get to, and I think this is going to be an extra long show. We might actually have to take out the chainsaw to the show topics and trim this sucker down a bit, because I can't in good conscience ask people to give us 3 hours of their time. And I know that the listeners would give it to us. They're that good. But that's a big chunk of time. So we'll see how it goes. We'll get moving right away here. And we'll see how this all pans out. But a random thought that I wanted to throw at you guys. I just wanted to bounce this tongue-in-cheek random thought off you guys, see what happens. So considering the Empire, and Tarkin specifically, took the precautionary measure of blowing up the entire facility on Scarif, doesn't it seem now doubly absurd that some dopey gunner on the Star Destroyer at the beginning of A New Hope didn't choose for precautionary measures to blow up one escape pod carrying 2 droids?
Yeah.
I know we got different people making different choices, but it would seem like there should be some sort of imperial proclamation that when in doubt, blow it up. And I know, I know that
to get through. So
yeah, I know you need the movie to happen. That's why I said it was just sort of a silly thing, but
you're not wrong.
That jumped out at me, saying, "Geez, you're willing to nuke an entire planet with all of your best kept secrets that you presumably will need one day. You're willing to destroy it all, but an escape pod, whatever, let it go." Oops.
There was nothing on it,
or so they thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Until Vader caught wind of it and said, "No, go down, get it. I wonder if he went and force choked that officer who let it go.
Oh, for
He
sure.
should have.
Everybody
You really
got
should've.
force choked. Look, sir, droids. Ah.
Uh-oh. That officer, whoever let that escape pod float down to the surface, that guy needs to cash his chips and get out of there fast. Anyway, little random thought. I get it. You can't. Those droids had to get through. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. Moving on. So John Knoll, the chief creative officer at Lucasfilm, or at ILM, excuse me, and also famously now the guy who came up with the entire idea for Rogue One. He tells Screen Rant that he's 3/4 of the way there on an idea for another standalone movie. No details on what it is or what he's planning, but I think at this point, after he's made Lucasfilm $1 billion plus out of this, I would think that when Kathleen Kennedy gets the call from John Knoll that he's ready to pitch it, I think she's going to be willing to listen. What do you guys think?
Yeah, no doubt.
Definitely.
She'd be silly not to, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
for
for
sure. Go ahead, Gordon.
all depending on what he's working with, what the idea he's working with. But if it contradicts something else,
let's hope it's not Rogue 2.
Yeah, exactly.
It won't be Rogue 2. She already said that.
Yeah, exactly. No sequel, but yeah, you'd be silly to sort of not take that call. I'm sure she will, and hopefully he's got another idea in the hopper that is as good as the first one he had. But I see that as nothing but good news.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Hey, plowing ahead here. We've got some Han Solo nuggets here. Woody Harrelson was on, I think, the Jimmy Fallon show. Does he do the Late Show? Was that his gig? I guess so. All these
Tonight Show.
All these late night shows, they all the names sound the same to me. The late night show, the late show, the Tonight Show, the Tonight Late Show. I can't deal with it. It's too much. Anyway, so Woody says that the Han Solo movie is going to be the best Star Wars movie yet. So James, what do you have to say to Woody about that?
Slow your roll. And Beckett?
Yeah, how about that?
Is that Hondo's real name?
Corey, what do you think? Is that kind of confidence the type of thing you want to hear, or would you expect nothing less?
No, I think he's saying it with a certain amount of enthusiasm, and who knows what they got in store for us. I'm not gonna say that it's not possible. That's for sure. Like we've raved about the cast so far. We've heard that the script is absolutely amazing. Kasdan did it, so that's a big ups right there. So they have the material to work with. There's an infinite number of possibilities. There's so much storyline that they can go through using this character. Like, he's the coolest character of them all, you know?
Arguably.
Money's not an issue.
I think
So
I could cautiously get behind the statement of, like, most fun Star Wars movie yet. Like everything Corey's saying is getting me pretty excited, but to say best Star Wars movie yet?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We've talked about this here before. The Force playing a role in this movie, I don't think it really... Maybe it can in the background or something, or maybe there's a reason why Han dislikes the Force so much. Maybe Beckett's all about the Force and it lets him down in a big way, so he holds kind of a grudge. Who knows, but I don't think we'll be seeing too much Force usage in this film.
I'd be surprised if we saw any, quite frankly.
Or just mentions of it. Maybe not usage, but mentions of the Force.
Yeah, I would. Jeez, I don't know, man. It doesn't seem the Force. Of course, we don't know anything about this movie, but it's hard to envision a place for the Force in this movie. Maybe I'm crazy, but I just don't see where the Force slots in with this cast of characters.
Especially with Han's attitude in A New Hope. Like, it's not like this guy's been surrounded by a bunch of Force happenings. You know, he wasn't a believer, right?
Well,
I could see it happening in almost like a comedic way where, like, things are happening to him by chance and luck, and that's what he's attributing it to, but really he's kind of He's being helped by a greater power in a way.
You're saying that old Han Solo is
Not force sensitive, but he's just, he's lucky.
No. What he was saying was that he thinks it's possible that Han Solo is the chosen one.
Oh Jesus,
No.
James, don't
Don't
do it.
man. But like something in I don't know, like someone grabbing him and him being like, "Hey, what?" and turning around, and right that instant when he turned around, like a bullet whizzes by where he was, or just chance things like that.
Have you seen Star Wars?
A laser beam.
James, I've been asking myself that about Corey these days.
Oh, hey, you trust me, Kyle got some backlash on that too. Says it ain't over, man.
Backlash.
It ain't over.
Questioning. Not everyone's on the same page.
Not everybody can be right.
I was gonna say that.
By the way, Corey, did you watch Rebels Recon?
Yeah, man. That was cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I thought Pablo's comments were pretty telling.
Yeah, it was interesting what he said. I remember what he said. He said he said that Obi-Wan, from where he is, and from that standpoint there, like he does feel that Luke, that he feels that Anakin can't be redeemed by that point, and that Luke's the chosen one.
Yeah, I don't think Pablo really confirmed anything one way or the other. So
Yeah, he never does.
I don't think. Yeah, no, he never really does. At least when it's this broad of an argument. Anyway, we're not going back there. We're not going back there.
It was relevant enough for it to have been brought up on Rebels Recon. Anyhow, obviously a lot of people are talking about it.
Absolutely, they are. But we're done with that here.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so everything continues to be very positive out of the Han Solo movie. I'm encouraged. The fact that Woody says it's going to be the best Star Wars movie ever, I take it with a grain of salt, of course. But again, it's really nice to hear that type of confidence, because everything I've heard from everybody involved is super positive.
Wasn't it about like 6-7 months ago? There was I can't remember the guy's name, but he was saying that it was the best script he's ever read.
That was Ian McKeag, conceptual artist, if I'm not mistaken. And again, sometimes you have to consider the source on these things, right? Ian McKeag has been a long-time Lucasfilm conceptual artist. There's a little bit of home cooking going on with those types of comments, but it doesn't mean he's lying or he's exaggerating or wrong. Just
or that he doesn't believe it.
Yeah, but you just got to tread cautiously and keep your expectations in check. Anyway, Phoebe Waller-Bridge also said that so far shooting the movie has been great fun. So, again, a pretty generic comment, but not a negative word coming out of any aspect of this production so far. So I continue to be encouraged, and I look forward, I guess, in a couple weeks for Celebration to roll around and we start seeing, hopefully, some images, some official Lucasfilm images from the production of the movie. But James, you touched on something which is probably the most juicy bit when it pertains to Han Solo, and that is that his character's name is Beckett. Beckett?
No,
Really?
Beckett's
Beckett?
Woody Harrelson's name, right?
Yeah, a
Apparently,
criminal
but
smuggler.
I got a theory on that.
Yeah, there's some theories going around already, but he describes himself as a criminal smuggler mentor named Beckett, and we can bid adieu to Garrus Shrike, the character from Legends who raised Han Solo to be the con artist that we know. But it looks like that's not the case. But James, let's hear your theory.
Oh, he just straight up made up that name. They're like, you're not allowed to say the actual character's name, so just say any name you want. And he was like, Beckett, because probably he had a dog named Beckett or something at some point.
Oh, so you think he's full of it?
I think he's full. I think he described the character he's playing, but he just made up that name.
I can buy that. I can absolutely buy that.
I watched it a few times, and the way he said it, I don't know. I wasn't convinced.
The body language didn't sell you?
No.
Yeah, it can always be changed till it's never too late.
And also, a lot of these characters run around with one name during production, and it gets changed at another point. Kira was Rey's name early on for The Force Awakens, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, by the time the cameras got rolling, it was back to Rey, but it goes to show that things like that, character names, can and will change. So yeah, James, if you want to say that Beckett is BS and he's going to be somebody else by the time the curtain lifts on the Han Solo flick, I'm right there with you.
I didn't mind the name, in honesty. Like, I find it kind of...
I don't hate it either.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
I find it suits. It sounds Star Warsy enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. I've no issue with it. If he actually turns out to be Beckett, okay. We got fooled by an actor. Who would have guessed? All right, so still with the Han Solo movie here. In an interview at a technology and entertainment conference at Stanford, Disney CEO Bob Iger said the Han Solo film will show how he got a certain vehicle. I wonder what that could be. Met a certain Wookiee. Again, I'm mystified. And how he got his name. So we can gloss over the 2 points about the vehicle and the Wookiee. We know who those are. We already knew that was going to be part of the movie. But how he got his name, that's got everybody in fandom talking. So was Han Solo not his actual name for his entire life? Or does how he get his name mean getting his quote-unquote reputation? That's been the other theory going out there. So, James, where do you stand on this?
Well, there's a couple. That makes sense too. But why not just that is his name his whole life, and like the explanation is he helped name him somehow.
Yeah, I mean it could. I mean, this is what we do, right? We read perhaps sometimes too deeply into things, and this could be just a real simple thing. Corey, what do you think?
Yeah, it's the first thing that came to my mind as well, and I'd seen people tweet it not too long afterward, but I saw the majority of people panicking. It's like, oh no, his first name's gonna be Dash Rendar or something like that, you know?
Oh geez.
Yeah, but yeah, it could very well be his reputation being solidified and having run the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs or something like that. Just doing something so daring, being in so many places at the same time. Like, this whole movie is probably gonna... Yeah, it's a 6-year time span as well, right? Like,
That's
a
right.
lot of stuff.
That's right. I forgot to mention that. So yeah, Iger said that this movie will take place between the ages of 18 and 24 for Han Solo. So I guess we're due for more flashbacks, or a movie that's going to start at one point and end 6 years later. That seems odd.
And I really think in hearing that, I think we're going to meet two different versions of Han Solo. Like, at the beginning, I think he's going to be very much different than he is at the end. By the end of the movie, he's going to be a completely changed person. Or he could just always be that scoundrel at heart the whole way through. Who knows? But I can kind of see it with that kind of time span. Like, I think there's going to be some significant life events that help to mold him.
I think we're going to see something happen to him. You know, I guess heartbreaking, for lack of a better term, and that will be the thing that turns him into a cynical scoundrel.
Yeah,
that's my
possible.
guess.
Very possible.
But interesting comments nonetheless. Iger went on. He said a bunch of things which are really interesting in my mind. So he also said that they're planning out up to another decade and a half of Star Wars stories. So let me ask you guys, Corey, what are you realistically hoping for in the next 15 years of Star Wars, up until 2035?
So when you guys hear stories, do you think solely movies, or are you going with stuff like Rebels?
I think for the purpose of this conversation, let's keep it to movies. But as far as what his comments meant, I think it means everything. The books, the TV shows, the games, the virtual reality stuff, all of it. I think it's a big thing that's going to keep unfolding. But let's keep it to movies. What are you hoping for in terms of movies over from 2020 to 2035?
That's hard. I mean, we know we want Obi-Wan for sure, and I don't know if they're gonna milk that. I hope they don't like hobbitize it in a way and make it a trilogy or something. But definitely want Obi-Wan. Want a nice resolution to the Skywalker saga. Either let it be in 9 or 12. Finish this saga. And I definitely want them to start a new saga in a different era, different timeline. I think it's time to move apart from this and maybe go back to the beginning, which is something the franchise is fond of doing. So that's quite a few years right there. That's at least a good 10 of them. And,
Well,
yeah.
you've counted what? You've counted up to 7 movies there. If you get episodes 10 through 12, an Obi-Wan movie, and a saga at the beginning,
Yeah, I should pretty well close to cover it.
that's 7 movies in 15 years. And you would have to imagine that you haven't said anything about standalones at this point. So you
Yeah.
could probably mix in a couple more, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like speculating too much on the standalones because they're always so far they're so character based, and I'm still kind of up in the air about stuff like that. Like, do I want to see a Yoda story? I'm not sure yet. I want to know more, but
So just for the record, you've left no time for the put it in the vault thing that you've spoken so highly of.
not necessarily. If they ended at episode 9, then they can continue forward with the standalones for a bit and put the saga stuff on the shelf for a good 5 years. Definitely
maybe.
need some room to breathe.
James, what do you think?
I don't have a lot to change about what Corey said. I definitely want to see Obi-Wan too. Based on how the fans reacted to Rogue One, I think if the story itself just didn't lend itself to a sequel, like it just really doesn't lend itself to a sequel. But if it did, the popularity, I think Disney or the powers that be might make Rogue 2. So if the Han Solo movie is as good as we think it might be, and if the Kenobi story is super good, I wouldn't be surprised if we get multiple spin-offs from the same characters in the next 15 years. And I hope I'm around in 2035 to see whatever's going on.
Well, Jesus Christ, I hope
Yeah,
you're
besides that-
around too, dude. It's not that long from now.
Yeah, you never know. That's 20 years. That makes us like 60. Holy moly, that a lot happens in
Oh,
20 years.
Jesus.
I've already thought
Oh.
about that. Us like being like 60 something in the theater, like watching Star Wars on a premiere.
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
we'll be there. Will we be podcasting? That's a bigger question.
Will we remember what podcasting is then?
I think, geez, who knows? I mean, 20 years ago, the word didn't exist. So I would think 20 years
No, we
from
would've
now,
been on,
podcasting is going to be an outmoded relic of the past. So what will we be doing with regards to Star Wars? Will we be passive consumers? Or are we going to be actively participating? Well, where's Twitter going to be? How are we going to express ourselves on a daily basis without Twitter if it's not around? My goodness.
All in your brain, buddy.
Yeah, we'll have all these like cerebral implants that will be constantly connected to the web 24/7. All right, what else did Bob Iger have to say? Actually, for myself, again, I'm not going to deviate too far from what you guys said. I think we could get anywhere from, on the low end, 5 movies in those years, up to 9 or 10, and still have room for a couple years of a break. I still truly don't think they're going to put Star Wars on the shelf for too long. I know that I think we all kind of agree that putting Star Wars to sleep cinematically for 3 to 5 years definitely makes sense. And even 10 years if you wanted to stretch it to let the fan interest really grow. I don't see them doing that from a financial perspective, but
No. Even 5's going to be a hard bullet for them to bite.
Depends how the spin-offs do, man.
yeah, if they
good,
can live
yeah.
off the spin-offs, and certainly Rogue One made the idea of living off of spin-off movies really palatable. So maybe that's what they're going to do, and maybe that's the future of Star Wars. Okay, so otherwise, Bob Iger said that Carrie Fisher's death is not going to affect The Last Jedi. So he said, quote, "Carrie appears throughout 8. We are not changing 8 to deal with her passing. Her performance remains as it is in 8. In Rogue One, we had her some digital character. We are not doing that with Carrie." Corey, how's that make you feel?
It's difficult. I don't know how they're going to deal with this moving forward. With what he said, does it still make sense that they can use the footage that they shot and still change what happened or what was supposed to happen to her? Because we all know that we don't all know, people are speculating that she was supposed to be quite severely injured in this film, and she used the Force to save herself and a few others. Maybe that scene changes.
Why? Dude, I heard they had everything filmed for 8.
Yeah, they could use all that footage still.
But I don't understand what you mean. Like, what are you worried about?
What are they going to do for episode 9 if they don't? If they're saying...
Well, he hasn't addressed that.
If they're saying that they're not ever... Because they've said it in the past, too. They're not going to be recreating her character. They're not going to be hiring a new actress to represent Leia.
Well, I don't think they ever said that. I think we talked about this at the time, and I don't remember the exact quote, so we're not going to get too deeply into it, but I think the specific wording they used could be, you could play with what they said. You know what I mean? You could take it two ways. You could say, well, yeah, they're not going to redo it now, but it seems like they've worded it in such a way that if they need to do it digitally, they can. And that's blasphemous for some people. I'm upsetting some people right now. I get it. I feel your pain. But this to me, and James, I don't know if you'll agree with this, but it sounds to me that whatever story they had planned for Leia, they're going ahead with. And one way or another, they're putting it on screen. So if they're going ahead with 8 as it is, then either 9 is going to have a major left turn with regards to Leia, or they're going to recast her.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they're just going to go with exactly what they were supposed to. And I don't know about 9. Like, I know maybe fans would create too much of an uproar, but couldn't they just like Alder on her? Like, oh, Leia's on that planet, zap.
They could, and people have said that's the appropriate way to do it. And if you listen to the roundtable on TSW, it was the one that I was on with Ash and with, of course, Rob Cast and Nathan Roberts and Carlos. It was Nathan that had a great idea, is to have her, you kill her off screen, which is a very unfitting thing for Carrie Fisher, but bring her back as a digital hologram to deliver some kind of message, posthumously, which I think could work. It's a very slippery way of getting rid of her, in an off-screen death, but not having it be the last you see of her. Because I think an off-screen death, in my personal opinion, is a really unfair way to deal with one of the core characters of Star Wars.
The issue that I'm having a problem with is, from what we gathered thus far for episode 8, everyone's still kind of doing their own thing, and Kylo is he's on the Luke and Rey trail. Like, he hasn't come to dealing with Leia yet, and I would think in this story that Kylo and Leia would at one point have to confront one another, the way that Han confronted him.
Yes, agreed. And that was one of the rumors, that Leia had 2 big scenes with regards to reunions. We were gonna get the Luke and Leia scene, which I believe is happening in 8, because there are set photos of Mark Hamill with Carrie Fisher in Ireland. I believe it was the set. I can't remember where. Maybe Dave Donovan can shed some light. Hey, Dave. And so it seems like they're going to appear together on screen in 8. Otherwise, what would she be doing in Ireland? Yeah, I mean, what happens to her in 9? Is she going to meet Kylo and Luke in 8? Or was the reunion with her and Kylo scheduled to be for 9? Because there's no way I don't think you could convince me that they can go through this trilogy and not have Leia confront Kylo in some way. I don't think you can pull that off. That would feel really hollow to me. That's something that's got to happen. What do you guys think?
I 100% agree. 100% agree. Like, Leia's character, it says it all, and it's her son, for crying out loud. Like,
So if that hasn't happened in 8 already, which maybe it has happened, it's got to happen in 9, which means she's going to be around in some form. Does that make sense, James?
I don't know. I'm trying to. It does make sense. I'm just trying to think if there's a loophole for Corey. Like, what if storyline wise, what if Leia's like his adopted mom? Do they still have to face off?
Yep.
Probably, yeah.
Like the way they
Yeah,
spoke
I would think
in The
so.
Force Awakens, like telling Han to bring him home and
Yeah, I mean, you can't.
Yeah, I guess. You're
I would
right.
like someone to try and convince me that no, you don't need. If it hasn't happened in 8, you don't need to have Kylo and Leia meet in 9. Just because you can't have another actress play Leia and you can't bring her back digitally, it's an insult. So, assuming that reunion was scheduled for 9, how do you get around that? I'm totally open to hearing suggestions, but to me, it is an absolute must that those two come face to face. I think the emotional heart of the trilogy kind of rests in that moment. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. Lastly, from Bob Iger, he said that Mark Hamill has a big role in The Last Jedi and will do, quote, a lot of talking. So not so much of a bomb. We sort of expected this, the opposite of The Force Awakens. But that's got to make us longtime fans feel good that Luke is going to... Let's face it, if The Force Awakens was Han's movie, The Last Jedi is going to be Luke's movie. You guys agree with that? You happy about Luke coming back and having a big role?
hell yeah. I'm
Yes.
so anxious.
Hey, just real quick before we move forward, what if Leia was supposed to confront Kylo in 8, but because of circumstances, they're just going to go ahead and like push that to 9, so they'll just use all the footage they had for 8 and delay that part of the storyline. You know what I mean?
That's possible. I think that's been one of Mark's things that Mark over at TSW. That there's whatever they filmed for Carrie Fisher in 8, they can stretch it across to episode 9, and then do some trickery if you need other stuff.
Yeah, he probably earwormed me, but that makes sense to me. I think that's probably one of the possible things they're exploring.
Yeah, and that seems like a viable way to do it. Let's hope. Let's hope that they filmed more than they needed.
Well, yeah, they got trailers to make.
Fake trailers with
Lots of Luke talking. I don't know. I like that Luke's going to be in it a lot, but I didn't like the specific quote. Like, I'd like to see. I wish he said lots of Luke in action.
Well, I definitely got lots on both ends. I want to see the green saber ignite, but I definitely want to hear where he's been, what he's been up to, why. Like, I want to hear it all, man.
we're definitely going to get it all. Let me ask you guys this. I ran this by the guys at Talk Star Wars, and I'm not sure. I think I ran a poll on it, but I don't remember the results, or even if I did actually run the poll. But I was surprised by the result. Do you guys expect and or think that Luke will pilot a ship in either 8 or 9? I don't know, James. What do you think? Is Luke going to be in the cockpit of some sort of fighter?
I don't know. It's hard to say. It depends what the story does. But like Vader flew ships, even though he was super Sith Lord.
Yeah, he was
right?
the best
So,
pilot in the galaxy.
I don't know. I think maybe.
Like, what's your knee-jerk reaction? Like when you?
My knee-jerk reaction was no.
Yeah, me too.
He didn't look like a pilot when I saw him at the end of the movie.
Well, don't get me wrong. I don't see him in a flight suit, like an X-wing flight suit, the orange suits or anything like that. But he definitely could still pilot a ship because that's made abundantly clear in the first one that he's a hell of a pilot. Like, he'll always be a pilot at heart. Like, Luke's an amazing pilot, and at one point I would think that they're going to get off Act 2. Maybe Rey pilots, maybe, I don't know. But I would definitely think that I wouldn't see him in a battle. I would see him maybe escaping or trying. I wouldn't see him in the on the another Death Star trench run, so to speak.
I can't see him being part of.
I hope not.
Yeah, I can't see him being part of any sort of major action set piece while in the cockpit of an X-wing, for example. I think that's maybe a waste of his screen time. But I can see him in a brief sequence, whether he's under attack from Kylo's ship and he's got to get out of dodge,
Or maybe he saves the day like Lando style.
something like that. I mean, yeah, but I mean, to circle back, I didn't think, knee-jerk reaction, that Luke would ever be seen flying a ship again. But then when I heard the guys at Talk Star Wars talking about it, I go, geez, why didn't I think that? It sounds like it's something that's almost a gimme at this point. But I don't know. We'll see. I've seen nothing to indicate that he will be behind the wheel, so to speak. But who knows? I'm definitely excited to see what they got planned for Luke.
I'm so stoked. And to hear that he actually has a lot of speaking lines, like, oh man, I'm really anxious because, I don't know, like, Mark Hamill, he's just, the way I regard him now is a lot different than I did a while ago, I guess. Like, it's hard to say, but just following him on Twitter, and just, he's such a nice, cool guy, and like, I don't know, like, he's so anxious to do this film, and you could tell that he's so in love with the character and the story and everything, so I think he's going to really nail it.
Oh, I agree with you. He's going to absolutely crush this. Okay, so moving on. We're zipping ahead here, guys. I like this. The faster we go, the sooner I can get to bed. Are we all sick, by the way? Like, I've got a pretty bad cold going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually had
I feel like
I had the sniffles.
bag of poop.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling it now. I had to sort of mainline a couple of really strong cups of tea before coming on here. I'm so wiped. It's killing me. I'm gonna take a sip here.
Mine's blech. It's like somehow it's colder than room temperature.
Okay, so we got a lot of stuff this week, and primarily from the fountain of content known as Anthony Bresnick at Entertainment Weekly. He did not disappoint this week. He gave us a ton of stuff about the alternate reality of Rogue One. We all know by now how crazy revised this movie was by a number of different people. But one thing that has been consistent is that Vader, he was always scheduled to be used sparingly. And so in the first story here, we got like 4 stories to go through. In the first version, where there's a version where Jyn and Cassian escape Scarif with the Death Star plans, and Krennic was supposed to survive as well. And somehow he found shelter from the Death Star blast and was pulled from the rubble by Imperial forces. He reports to Vader, and at that point, Vader chokes him to death. Which, personally, I'm glad this was cut. I think it's silly for anybody or anything to have survived that blast. And also, I think it takes the focus off the main narrative. Corey, do you agree? Or do you think that more Vader is always the best plan?
No, I 100% agree. Yeah, you put it in good perspective there, saying it would have taken us off the main narrative. And, watching this movie, I think we were all I was like 90% sure that Vader was going to force choke the shit out of him till death, But, yeah, I mean, he did once, and that was it. But I definitely thought Vader was going to be Krennic's demise in this movie. It wasn't the case, and the way it was written, I don't know if I really would have went for it. Like you said, like, having survived that blast, yeah, I don't know about that.
James, what do you think?
Under a pile of rubble? Come on now.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's silly. No, that's that. I'm glad they rewrote that. That sounds like it would have cheapened the climax.
Yeah, and it's keeping around a character that no longer served a purpose. And I'm sorry, Rob Wade.
Yeah.
I know you have your man crush on Krennic, Ben Mendelsohn, but the way he went was
Rob would support that more
Yeah,
than
I think
anyone.
so.
He wants him to have like a proper death,
which he got. I think
which he did.
the more I think about the ending of Rogue One, the last, say, half an hour, the more impressed I am about how neat and tidy it is. And I think we're going to get a chance to watch it together in the next week or so. Hopefully. I still haven't gotten approved for my day off. I'm starting to sweat a little bit on that. But I think they did a great job of reiterating that movie to death, but in the end coming up with something that is just so neat and clean. But on this topic, I ran a poll to see who would be the person to kill Krennic? Because I always thought it was a given that Krennic was going to die. I didn't see any scenario in which Krennic lives to see another day. And frankly, neither did anybody else. But Vader ran away with this pole. And I'll be honest, this was before Catalyst came out. So Tarkin wasn't even an option on the list, which at the time made sense because, like I said, Catalyst was not out. We didn't know really to the extent that Krennic and Tarkin hated each other's guts. But it makes so much more sense. It was just so perfectly done that Tarkin takes control of the weapon that Krennic built and then wipes out Krennic with it, as well as countless other people. Any other comments on that?
Did anyone comment on the poll and say that the Death Star would finish him off?
I don't remember. It's possible, but I don't remember. I mean, this was like in, I want to say July or August. All right, so I'll move along then. Again with Breznikin, who he does this. I remember he did this last year in the lead up to The Force Awakens dropping. It was just day after day in one particular week, just a new story, a new story, a new story. And this one really, really piqued my interest. So the headline is Jyn Erso's mother was a slain Jedi in early version of Rogue One. What? How does that work? And so the prologue scene where we meet the Erso family was going to be the Empire coming to kill the Jedi, which was Jyn's mom. And what a cool idea. I'm so stoked. I would have liked to have seen that. But it would have been Krennic being sent to do it. And that to me is sort of where it makes no sense. Like you wouldn't, I don't think, I know he's flanked with Death Troopers who are lethal as hell, but why would you send that guy to kill a Jedi? Like, wasn't that Vader's job?
Yeah, exactly. That makes no sense. But I would think, obviously, I guess the writer of Catalyst would have to have read the script for Rogue One prior to writing Catalyst, right? Like, the two can't contradict one another.
Correct.
So,
but if you were going to use Vader in Rogue One, why not have him in that opening, and sparingly, whatever, have him in that opening scene killing a Jedi,
right,
and have the little girl get
yeah,
away?
wouldn't that have been cool?
Amazing.
I mean,
that would have opened such a can of worms amongst fandom. Like right away, it would have been like, oh my god, it's Rey's like lineage, like something like that. Like
well, you're right. I mean, we're skipping to the end of this bit here, but that is ultimately one of the big drivers to why that was cut, because it's disappointing to me because the film was altered to save fans from their own insanity, their own speculating, which would have been needless. So as cool as it would have been to see in that opening sequence, Krennic or Vader, pick one, walking across the Erso farm flanked by these Death Troopers, and Lyra whips out her lightsaber and faces off against these goons. That would have for me, and it was the one thing I've been saying since the start, why Rogue One doesn't feel like a complete Star Wars movie to me is because of that lack of Jedi. James, I think you feel the same way, but I think this would have been a really cool way of completing that puzzle for me. But in the end, I think saving fans from their own insanity was probably a smart call. Do you agree?
But in the same way, like,
no.
How does it make sense for Rogue One? Like, so what? Even if let it be, if it's Vader or Krennic who go, if they're dispatched to go get Lyra, is it just by chance that they stumble upon Galen as well and be like, hey, this is the guy that has knows how to build a Death Star. Let's get him too. Like, we're here for the Jedi, but let's grab him.
Yeah, I mean, we're going back a long way here, but Galen was already a part of the project, so I think it would have been, you could have easily fixed that, I think, by having them not know, previously not know that Lyra was a Jedi, and going to get Galen, and then oops, oh my god, there's actually a Jedi here. Well, let's deal with her since we're here.
Yeah, that would have worked. That would have been actually really cool.
Super cool.
But then in that case, you don't need to send Vader, because if you don't know you're going to face a Jedi, you don't need to send Vader.
Yeah, but then the Jedi lives.
It would have been an interesting tidbit in Catalyst as well. Like in Catalyst, had you not known but suspected, it would have been a nice like lead into this movie. If you read it prior to watching the movie, you could have been like, "Oh wow, like that really is." It would have tied some kind of knot.
Yeah, because I mean, they went as far as to say that she could feel the Force, but she couldn't use it, which is cool.
She was a believer.
She was a believer, and it was clear that she could feel the Force within her, but she had no training, no way to actually use the Force herself. But I can clearly imagine in my head, and I'm sure you guys and everybody listening can too, just that scruffy Lyra Urso by the time we see her on her planet there. I forget what that planet was called. But you can see her in I can totally picture her in Jedi robes and pulling out a lightsaber to defend her family against half a dozen Death Troopers. That would have been a really cool way, in my opinion, to kick off that movie. And it would have been a cool continuation of Revenge of the Sith, where you could have just said, no, this is the Empire is still stamping out the Jedi, and this is potentially like the last one, except it wasn't, of course. Anyway, I think it's smart because, yes, we would have sit here going, oh, well, that must mean Jyn is a Force powered too, and she's going to be blah blah blah. And it would have been a distraction, and I guess it was the prudent choice to do what they did in the end. But man, that would have been cool.
I don't know. I don't know that caring about what fans are speculating is a good reason to change a storyline in a movie.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't think it is.
Yeah, that's why I say like it's unfortunate that they decided to save the fans from themselves, so to speak.
And they put in so many, but also they put in so many like, possibilities, like who Rey's parents are and who is Snoke. Like they don't mind leaving us in suspense. So like, I don't know. I hope that's not really the reason. That's sort of like, I'm like, bah, that's sounds a bit chicken to me.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll kind of stay on that theme, or we'll come back to that theme of maybe being chicken a little bit in a few minutes. Well, we'll step away from Breznican. We'll give him a break for a sec, and we'll kick over to IO9 and Germain Lucier. He filed a pretty cool story where he was at ILM, and he spoke again with the aforementioned John Knoll, the chief creative officer at ILM, and man, did they have a couple of crazy endings planned for Rogue One at the very beginning. Totally insane stuff. So we had the group, the heroes, on the beaches of Scarif, and taking off. They were actually rescued off the surface of the planet before the Death Star got them. But they were then immediately chased down by Darth Vader. Even after multiple jumps in hyperspace to try and lose them, he stayed on them. And eventually he crippled their ship. And in this first alternate ending, they're trying to lose Vader and his ship in the traffic of Coruscant, which you can imagine, thousands and thousands of ships flying through the atmosphere. But they realize they can't do it. Their ship is damaged. They're not going to get away. So they realize, I guess they scan some frequencies and put out a call for help. And Leia's ship answers the call, so they transmit the plans to Leia's ship, and of course Vader would pick up on that as well. But then Jyn and Cassian decide to blow up their own ship with them on it, so that they wouldn't be captured and tortured for information. I'm glad they moved away from that ending. Agree? Disagree?
Definitely agree.
Agree.
It seems really thrown together. Like,
and that chase through Coruscant sounds like something from the prequels. Like Pod Racer.
That part I kind of get, and I kind of like the fact that, the multiple jumps, and this is the plan, we'll lose them in the traffic, but we're too damaged, we can't make it there. The part that gets me is that, okay, we're kind of in the middle of space, in the dark right now, and okay, let's throw out a last-ditch effort, like there's a ship. Oh, it's Leia. How convenient.
And it just feels like it's something that cinematically, as you're watching it, would just feel like it's dragging. The second ending is pretty similar, but it would see Cassian as a double agent. So he was planted by the Empire into the rebellion, and he becomes aware, I guess maybe in a similar way to Callus in Rebels, who kind of gets awoken to the fact that his employer, i.e. the Empire, is actually a really, really bad employer. Not good people at all. So they built this Death Star, and they intend to use it as a weapon to kill billions. So he jumps side to the rebellion and decides that he's going to help these heroes live. And so they're zipping through Coruscant, and just as their ship, and again they get the plans off the ship, but instead of blowing up their own shuttle, they set off a carbon freeze bomb, which I guess would see them hurtling through space together, like in this rocky clump of carbonite. X number of people just floating around. That's insane, right?
Yeah, just the thing that threw me off at the end. Like, I could get that. I like the carbon freeze bomb, and I think it's definitely better than the last one we spoke about. It's a little more dramatic. Like, hey, this is what we're doing. Like, it would be a kind of a nice climactic ending, you know. But the fact that he said
it kind of has a like, sorry, Corey.
well, just the fact that he said afterward, like, and this would account for them not being in A New Hope, Empire, and Jedi. Well, didn't Han like suffer from severe hibernation sickness after being in this thing for like 6 months? Like,
Yeah,
if these guys are
absolutely.
floating around space for years, like, they're not gonna live.
I don't know the science, the biology behind, how does your body age and deteriorate if you're stuck in carbonite? It can't be that bad. I mean, Han Solo had no access to oxygen or water for. Doesn't matter. It's if it stretches beyond a few days, he should have been dead. If it stretches beyond a few minutes, he should have been dead without air. But it does something to your body to preserve you. So, who's to say that you couldn't last for years in suspended animation in this carbonite bomb? But yeah, the visual of a bunch of heroes kind of melded together in this rock floating through space.
It sort of sounds like the Phantom Zone a little bit from where they trap Zod and Superman 2.
It seems torturous in a way to see like an ending like that where they're just floating in space. Like, will they not be found? Who knows?
Yeah, and again, we would be giving ourselves the distraction forever, right? Like, eventually these heroes will be found, and they'll be leading other missions. We'll see them on screen again for sure. That is the natural extension of what fandom does with these types of open endings. But again, 2 more possible endings here, and I got to say again that the eventual ending that we got makes more sense. Like, aside from the Lyra Urso thing as a Jedi, there's nothing else here that I'm like, oh Jesus, I wish they'd done that, or I somehow wish we see, like, I want this particular plot line put into some other movie because it's just too cool. Like, do you care to see a carbonite bomb to see how that works?
No.
Nor I. To me, it's too bizarre. All right, so lastly, back to Anthony Breznican. Cap it off here. One more time with an alternate ending. So it's going to be really confusing as time goes on to keep track of who said what, and were heroes supposed to die? Were any supposed to live? We've already talked today about endings where the heroes were lived, but here's Gary Whitta saying the original instinct was that they all should die. So this is what he tells Entertainment Weekly. That's what we always wanted to do. This is a quote I'm reading here. But we never explored it because we were afraid that Disney might not let us do it. That Disney might think it's too dark for a Star Wars movie or for their brand. Which I think we're going to get back to that chicken argument. They had to work up the courage, the creatives behind this project, to go to Kathleen Kennedy and say, we're trying to make up all these endings, and we're fighting against our better judgment to kill the characters. We think that's the best way to do it. But we're like, for lack of a better word, they were afraid to kill off everybody for fear of it being too dark for Disney. And then Kathleen Kennedy says, "Do it. Do what you got to do. Make the movie you got to make." So what I'm taking away from this is that if these guys are pioneers in the standalone world for Star Wars, I hope they've made it clear for everybody else. So people doing the Han Solo movie now, and for future standalone creators, you can do what you want. Like there's still that undercurrent narrative that Disney is a meddlesome parent company. And what I'm gathering from this is that Disney's barely involved with the making of a Star Wars movie. The buck stops with Kathleen Kennedy. If you have an idea and she thinks it's a good one, you can do it. Is that the impression you guys got from all this stuff?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, definitely yes.
And I think I speak for everybody, hopefully, when I say that's a really good thing. Like we can fans, media, can we start to put the rest of the narrative that the House of Mouse is lording over Star Wars and ruining it? Like that's not what we see. That's not what we're being told by reputable sources.
No, I like the way they did it here, and I'm glad. Again, this is like you said, this is the first standalone, and it's out in the open now. They had brought it up, and they'd let them have so much creative liberty with this that it's great. The whole thing is, we're talking about 4 different alternate endings here. It's a creative process, right? So, like, what I liked about this article is that they said, and she, I'm sure, agrees that, with all these ideas bouncing them off each other in this think tank and whatnot, the cream is going to rise to the top, right? So what we get from what I'm seeing is definitely the best scenario we could have hoped for.
Yeah, I mean, in this last scenario, there was no Bodhi Rook, Chirrut, or Baze. Jyn was actually Sergeant Urso. She was actually a rebel soldier and not a wayward orphan. Yeah, I mean, the Death Star comes to destroy Scarif, but instead they don't broadcast the plans as they do to Radish's ship. Instead, they're rescued off the surface, and a ship-to-ship transfer, as they say in the article, happens off Scarif. But then again, once again, Vader is in hot pursuit, and he, history takes over from there. But there would have been a final shot that would have resolved the hero's fate, and it would have shown them escaping in an escape pod, just floating among the debris, which I think that's a mailed-in ending, if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree that you're playing.
It's almost like waking up from a dream.
Yeah, like that to me feels like we don't know what else to do. Let's do something that we know is already part of Star Wars. We've seen the Millennium Falcon floating away in junk. Let's have an escape pod with our heroes floating away in junk. That seems a safe, easy way to do what we got to do. But here they were fighting against their better instincts, saying, no, killing everybody makes their sacrifice worth it, makes the mission worth it. We got to push this through. So I'm glad they worked up the guts. Because I think this version, if this is what they wanted to do, and they just swallowed their pride and told Kathleen Kennedy, we think this is the best story, and didn't push for what they wanted, we could have seen this. This could have been Rogue One. So I'm glad somebody spoke up.
It contradicts the carbon bomb thing, too, because the whole point of the carbon freeze bomb was the fact that they knew they were going to scan the wreckage for signs of life. So this same thing easily could have happened if they escaped an escape pod. Like, okay, shut the power down. Okay, well, they're still scanning for life, and we're living.
And we're living.
Yeah. Again, all this to say, all these alternate endings, they for the most part, they fall flat on their face to me. What we got to me feels much neater, tidier, and more emotionally resonant. I'm glad that Rogue One turned out the way it was, or the way it has.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
I can't wait to watch it with you guys, man.
with the volume off. Ah. I mean, whatever. We'll find a way. We'll get some earbuds or something. Don't worry about it. That's a
We'll figure it
problem
out.
for future James, Kyle, and Corey.
Yeah, screw those guys.
Future Kyle.
I don't know. I don't know. Got my own problems here.
I can bring headphones and earbuds.
Helpful. Absolutely helpful. All right. We did a good job there. We kind of made good time there, guys. I'm happy about that. But now it's time to insert a first here on Tumbling Saber. Corey, we got together last night to record our review for Zero Hour right after having watched the episode. Just the timing made sense. We had a late start tonight to the show, and we figured, recording right after Rebels might give us fresher perspectives. It didn't. And
Yeah, no. I really feel like we dumped on the episode about a lot.
well, we did, and I think that was fair. It's just it's really tough to process what you just saw and then spit it out into a podcast. It's tough to do. I kept trying to put myself in the spot of doing a post game show, say for the Habs, or if you're a football fan, once the game is over, you got to have these analysts sit down and make sense of what you just saw. And it was tough to do. I'm not gonna lie. We watched it and we got right to it. It's tough. So anyway, we sat down. We chatted for a good almost hour about 0 Hour Part 1 and 2. So our ramblings about 0 Hour, the season 3 finale of Rebels. This is our last Rebels review for this year. I'm here with Corey, as you know, and also stepping into the chair, it's my wonderful wife. It's the lovely Candace.
Yeah, I basically only do season finale of Rebels. That's my job here.
That's not true. No, that's not true. You weren't here for Twilight of the Apprentice. You came on to do the season 2 trailer.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I remember episode 6 was my first pod with you guys, and you were on.
Well over a year ago now.
Yep.
But it's the right time to bring Candace back in. She's been knocking on the door for a while, and also the lady who keeps the Tumbling Saber wheels turning in the background, keeping the kids away, running interference when I need some time to record and to work. So it's about time that the people hear from one of the people that keep the things going over at Tumbling Saber Studio. So
Yeah, and I have opinions.
don't I know it? All right, so let's get into 0 Hour here, parts 1 and 2. Corey, what were your overall impressions?
Kind of an epic episode, like great finale.
As K2SO would say, that's vague and unconvincing. Kind of an epic episode.
It was epic, but in the long run, I guess somewhat predictable. There was no like real big like surprise punches, but it was just so well done at the same time. Like the whole episode, like the thing that struck me most was the space battles, which I've been yearning for. I've been wanting for a really long time. We finally got to see some really cool like big battles. Like that part was cool.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, this was all kinds of battles. I have my notepad here, and in the second half of part 2, things were just getting off the handle, and we'll get there. But Candace, what were your overall impressions?
I got to admit, I felt a little let down. I thought it would be more controversial.
You come on this show once a year, and what you bring to the table is that you're let down?
Okay, listen. I said...
You said you have opinions. So
I
look at
said,
that.
yes, I do have opinions. But I said, wasn't as good as last year's. And you're like, well, that was pretty hard to beat. Yeah, well, I expect that kind of caliber of programming every year.
I knew you were going to go there. Like I was thinking the same thing. Like it's hard to top last year, but this is cool too. It's almost like as if they're hitting a reset button in a way, Like now, they're going to regroup and the rest of the fleet, whatever they have left.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll get to all these points and our summary at the end, but let's start with the very opening of the episode where we see Thrawn's shuttle, his Imperial shuttle, landing on his Star Destroyer, and he's accompanied by Death Troopers. And for Star Wars fans, over the last 3 months, we've gotten used to the visual of those tall, thin, black stormtroopers. You know that trouble's not far when these Death Troopers show up. So, Corey, we saw them in the trailers, but when it finally gets down to seeing the episode for real, you got to know that Death Troopers aren't a good sign.
Yeah, obviously, you kind of start associating with them with like higher ranked officials that are working on important projects, if you will, like Thrawn, Krennic. Like, these guys were somewhat important people. Yeah, like, we don't really see them moving forward again, which is still kind of a big question, but who knows?
Well, we see plenty of them in the episode.
No, in this episode, and like I'm talking like after Rogue One, like they don't really come into play all that much, and who knows, they might write that into the story and there might be a reason for that. But yeah, you know that they're the real deal.
Yeah, it was just like an ominous sign. Death Troopers in action here. I got a kick out of Thrawn telling Tarkin what's up. He was like, no, they wouldn't dare attack us. And, shut up, Tarkin. I know what's going on. Go back to your Death Star project, will you? That's kind of the impression that I got from Thrawn talking to Tarkin via hologram.
But at least Tarkin's wise, savvy enough to take that into consideration. Not like, no, like, listen to me, I'm the boss. Like, he can put his ego aside and be like, yeah, you're a smart dude. Like, continue. You know what you're doing.
Yeah, you're right. But Tarkin also doesn't want to be one-upped. If we learned anything about his rivalry with Krennic, is that he does not want to be usurped in his rise to the top, to the right hand of the Emperor. He wants to be the guy. He doesn't want anybody taking his fortune and glory.
No, you're right, but in the same right, I don't know. Like, Krennic played a lot dirtier than him. I'll say anyhow in Catalyst.
As an outsider, I think Krennic had to. But let's we're tangenting, we're diverting. Back on course here. So Candace, did you get the sense that Thrawn, in a way, was humoring Tarkin?
Listen, I missed that whole part. No, you were whining about the aspect ratio at that point, so I told you I couldn't concentrate while you're farting around in the guide and such. So I didn't actually. After this, I'm good, but that's why I'm remaining silent, because I really kind of couldn't focus on that part.
Alrighty then. Well, I got the sense Thrawn was absolutely humoring Tarkin. What did you think, Corey?
Yeah, well, he definitely seemed to know exactly what he was doing, like you had said, and Tarkin...
Like he was talking down to him, I felt. As high-ranking leaders do. They're not going to call each other names like schoolyard kids, but I got a real sense that Thrawn thinks he's above Tarkin.
Well, I think Thrawn thinks he's above everyone.
Yeah, that's pretty clear.
And in this...
Except for the Emperor.
Yeah, he lives to serve the Emperor. He kind of said that in this, but I think we'll get to this by the end of it, but you had said this from the beginning, Kyle, like, if he doesn't just mess stuff up majorly in this episode, like, he's going to kind of be a buffoon like the rest of them, and yeah, I wouldn't call this a decisive victory for him. That's for sure.
But I even got the sense that when he was like, everything from my Emperor, that... Because when it happened, when he said it, I was like, what? Like, he cares that much? I really thought he was in it for his own ego. And maybe not ego, but his own successes. And it almost seems put on, like it was what he was supposed to say.
Well, he said a bunch of times over the course of season 3 that the Emperor will not be challenged, and the glory of the Emperor. So it seems like he's very loyal.
But to me, it always felt like whenever he said it, it felt like a badge, like that was what he was supposed to be saying. But it just never rang true because he's so self-serving.
I just think he's an order and structure guy, super anal. Maybe he has OCD.
Like, do you think he wants the Emperor's seat, or do you think he's happy to be the Emperor's top lapdog?
Yeah, I don't think he can aspire to that, but I think he's gunning for the highest place he can go. So, and he knows that, and that's why he's wearing that badge of serving my Emperor. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of just see him as like, he's all about the Empire, like just the Empire in general. Like, full on dedication.
Did his Sherlock Holmesiness bother anyone else?
Well, Candace, I guess you reveal yourself as not listening to the show. But I've been complaining about that for a long time, and it bothered me again today.
It was like, and his heel was worn down in that pattern, and therefore I know that they're going to do this because of the scent on the gum of the... Like, he was just pulling stuff out, and he's
been doing that all year.
Yeah.
And it's been bothering me, and I mean, I guess we're moving into the part where Thrawn tracks Callus, or actually he intercepts Callus at Ezra's old hideout.
Which I think is kind of a dumb place to broadcast from. Like, choose a hay bale. Like, don't choose...
An old Imperial... Well, that is old Imperial property, isn't it,
Yeah.
Corey?
But regardless, like, yeah, he's like going in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of obvious. Like, if anyone at all were to see him, even a regular stormtrooper, like, where are you going, man? Oh, just out for a ride.
Yeah, but Thrawn was already there.
Oh, yeah. Like, yeah, it was a total setup.
Well, it was probably not the first time he's figured that out.
Has Callus broadcast from there before that we know of? We've not seen him broadcast from there.
Do we watch every broadcast?
No, I think we're left to assume that that's one of the places he's been doing it from.
He didn't bring a bunch of stuff and set it up there. Like, he had things worked out beforehand.
Yeah, unless it's Ezra's old stuff.
Still.
Anyway, nevertheless, he's been working out of Ezra's old apartment, living quarters, squatting house, whatever it's called. And then, of course, here's where Thrawn reveals more of his Sherlock Holmes magic, which has been driving me nuts. That here's the trajectory of Dodonna's fleet. Here's where your transmission was going. Here's where they intersect. There's no planet there. Ha ha ha. Oh, but you don't study art, you fool.
Yeah, I have this secret map from an ancient culture that I just happened to find. It's not my culture. I know about it.
I mean, that's fine. The fact that Thrawn studies art, great. But but this map has a hidden planet. Like, as if the Empire doesn't already know about that planet. And I know space is a big place. There's lots of room for hidden planets, but
Yeah, but if he found this map...
That's explained later on in the episode, right? Like, Bendu said himself, like, do you think it's like a coincidence this planet was so hard for you guys to find?
But if it was already on the ancient maps, when he found it, shouldn't he have been like... Or the ancient art, shouldn't he have been like, oh, I'm entering this into the database?
Yeah.
No.
But, like, regardless, like, the crisscrossing of those the interception and the trajectory or whatever, he's smart enough, you kind of zero in on that area and you kind of look and you do a little research. Like, it's not that much of a stretch. He's done worse this season, put it that way.
Yeah, but it's not that much of a stretch if you have that information right in front of you. It just seems like he had to lift some heavy rocks to get that information.
Well, we're definitely left the impression throughout the whole season that this guy's like a complete mastermind, but I have to say, I think in this episode it really blows up in his face. Like, everyone was saying, Thrawn's really got to deal a blow, which he did again, but he could have wiped out the rebellion in this episode, but he chose a different path.
That was something that bothered me. He seemed like he was sparing people.
I mean, he's been building this plan, this painstaking plan, where he's predicted the rebels' next move, 3 moves ahead, all season long. He finally ensnares them in his trap, has the chance to crush them, which he said he was going to do, and then he doesn't.
Yeah.
He could have chased them down in his ships. Instead, he let them run back to Atollon. Then he's bombarding them.
He's like, oh no, they've had enough.
What do you mean? Crush them!
Yeah, like he
and keeping Callus alive too.
That's another one.
Me.
The biggest one for me, having looked back at the episode, is at the beginning of the season. He says they'll be the architects of their own demise. Like, he himself, regardless of rank, he's in charge of that battalion, that fleet, if whatever it is, and yet he puts Constantine in control of one of the first. What was the name of those ships?
Interdictors?
The interdictors. So, right there, like, that's a self-inflicted wound. Like, why? Regardless of rank, why would you put that guy?
He gave Constantine and Price too much rope in this episode, and it cost him.
And he should have known better. Price, maybe not so much. But Constantine, he already knows is a goof.
I mean, Price was tripping all over her feet in this episode. She had no idea what to do at any point.
Which is kind of atypical.
Yeah, she's been pretty calculating, but when faced with actual battle, she really, really shit the bed.
Well, so did Thrawn in this episode.
Yeah, and you know what? 14 minutes in here, and it almost sounds like we're crapping all over this episode, and I don't mean it to sound that way, because I actually did enjoy it. I thought, like, start to finish, I was into the action. It was really good. It was actually getting really nuts.
No, it was a good episode, but there were some aspects of it that were really irritating. And I think it was all the Empire that were irritating.
Yeah, I mean, that we'll continue to get to all that stuff, but moving to the next scene where we get Kanan trying to enlist the help of Bendu.
Yeah, that was...
Wait, we're skipping over Sato?
Well, we haven't got there yet.
Really?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
we're not there yet.
All right.
Yeah, so Kanan decides he's going to go and try and enlist Bendu's help. The guy who sits in the middle, who is impartial and doesn't want to get involved with anything at any point. And he called him a coward. And just before that, I'm like,
Yeah.
I was invoking the old Marty McFly thing. I'm like, call him a chicken. And then he called him a coward. I said, oh. And then Bendu started getting pissed. He didn't like that.
No, it was...
Yeah, I'm going to just come right out and say it. Bendu's a dick.
Yeah, he's definitely something we've never seen before in Star Wars. I'll say that for sure. And he's really totally indifferent, like Kyla just said.
No, but he's not indifferent. He's like, that's what was getting me, because he's like, I am the middle. I am the middle. I am Bendu. You're not the middle. You're your own thing. That's not the middle. You're kind of bad, actually. You're kind of evil a little bit.
Well,
Well, he's not evil. He just...
He decides to end life. He's like, you bothered me, and I'm going to kill you. Not like, I'm going to just get everybody off my planet and you can all just buzz off. He's like, no, I am death. Like, this is not something that a middle character does.
At least he chose everybody. It's not like he chose like Empire over, like he was going for Rebels and
Yeah, he took out Imperials and Rebels.
That's true, but it's still death. It's not like...
Well, that was him trying to restore his own...
balance.
Yeah, he's a dick. He's like, get off my planet. I hate you all. Go away. I'll kill you.
I just hope we hear. Well, yeah, he didn't die actually. I really do hope we hear more from that perspective that he has, man. Like, I love it. Like he just, I like the fact that he just doesn't care. You know, he's like, he's totally indifferent. Like, he's like, I know the outcome of all this stuff. Like when Kanan calls him a coward, he's like, he gets so infuriated because he's like, you don't understand everything I know. You know, like.
He doesn't want to be bothered with your petty war.
Yeah, but also it felt like I was saying to Kyle, he feels like he's very self-obsessed. Like, I am Bendu, and don't call me a coward. And I felt that his idea that he is the middle is his own idea. It's not where he actually sits. It's his own idea. And so I felt like he sort of strayed away from his own character, but at the end, he came back to his character.
I don't know, like, when I saw him getting all crazy there, like, maybe you're right, maybe he can go out of balance and go one way or the other, but, like, when Kanan again calls him a coward, he, like, starts getting crazy, and he starts becoming, like, this tempest, right, this storm, and as he's doing that, he says straight up, he's like, I serve the wills of the Force, like, that was so cool.
Well, he called himself the light and the dark.
But he said, I am death. Not I am death and life. I am death.
Well, in that moment, he was deaf because he was pissed.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, maybe...
Hey, you offer him a lollipop and maybe he'll just poop rainbows all over the planet.
Flowers will spring up everywhere.
Anyway, that's part 2. Part 1 ends with maybe the rebellion taking or being the victim of the biggest Imperial smackdown since Empire Strikes Back, and that's going back a ways now. So, it didn't look good for the rebels. But I guess we have to give I hate to say that I'm going to miss him because I'm not, but
An in memoriam?
An in memoriam for Commander Sato, who actually did something useful for once and took out the interdictorship and taking it himself. Addition by subtraction for the rebellion, right?
Oh.
Do you agree, Corey, or are you going to miss Sato?
I'll miss his voice. I won't miss him as a leader. But again, Kyle won't give me props. Candace, listen. Kyle, did I not say Sato would go kamikaze?
I don't remember, but I'll give you the point.
Word. Yeah, I called it. I thought it would most likely be against Thrawn, but no, this makes sense.
Yeah, well, I guess. Well, it wasn't going to be against Thrawn just yet, but you know what? He was getting in his own way too often. That Sato guy. So too bad, so sad.
I think the saddest part of that is that their cargo ship, the one that Chopper stole, is no more.
Well, yeah, that was their portable hangar.
That was the head of the fleet.
Yeah, that was more or less their at least that the Phoenix Squadron. That was their flagship, right? Not anymore. So the Imperials had 2 interdictors, and the end of 0 Hour Part 1 saw the first interdictor being taken out so that Ezra could escape to go get Sabine's help, which is exactly where the episode ends. And we're left sort of dangling on the hook, wondering if Sabine is going to be the turning point. And
Which she kind of had to be.
She had to be. Yeah, no kidding. This ties into the poll that you ran last week, Corey, about who was going to be the unexpected help.
Big props to Wesley, man. Wesley called it somewhat, even though it's not really.
Well, it's
he got.
I guess there's 2 answers, right? There's
Sabine.
There's the Mandalorians, which I think took 64% of your poll, and I guess you could say Bendu helped. He's the guy that trashed the Imperial ground forces.
That's
spoiler alert. We just kind of skipped right to the end, but yeah, I guess you got to split it right down the middle here. That Bendu helped and Sabine with the Mandalorians helped.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So part 2 kicks off, and the rebels have fled back to their base and switched on this shield that Sabine has patched together, and it's just taking a thrashing, and it's melting down. It's about to fall apart, and then Thrawn suddenly stops. If I felt like if he kept going just for like 3 more seconds,
Oh, you had no kidding.
that's the end. The end of the series.
Well, that was what was bothering me the whole thing. I was like, why is he sparing people? Why is he sparing people? Look, there he is again, sparing people. Like, what do you think that was his own sick fascination, or do you think it was just because it is actually a kid's show?
I think it's his ego, like
He wants to be the kitten playing with the mouse?
more or less, like because like you see their shields are about to give it. I almost got the impression that he knew that, and he was just like, "Okay, stop, prepare."
Well, he did. He said they've had
he's like,
enough.
prepare the ground assault. Like I want to go see these people face to face and look them in the like. He wanted to see Hera and like gloat over them, you know, like hey.
So are we saying that there's a sense of honor to Thrawn where he wants to look his enemy in the eye as he destroys them?
No, not
I think
honor.
it's egomaniacal, like
Yeah.
just
He wants to see it for himself?
yeah, he wants to gloat over them and like throw it in their face and be like, haha, like
Wants to see the whites of their eyes as he destroys them.
Well, don't you think he should be more self-aware? For as calculating and Sherlock Holmesy as he is, shouldn't he be more self-aware of his own craven emotions?
Yeah, he says, I don't want glory, but he does want glory in his own way. Maybe not in like he doesn't want a parade thrown for him, but his glory is getting the
job done. Like you even told Tarkin at the beginning, like Tarkin was kind of like talking about like prisoners and hostages, and he was just like, oh wait a minute, that might not be possible. Like it might be like a lot of casualties. And then Tarkin was like, yeah, well, do what you got to do, but
capture rebellion leadership.
Yeah.
I don't think because I don't think Thrawn wanted to capture anybody. I think he wanted to kill them all.
Well, he even said, I'm not taking any surrenders.
Yeah, until he got
time.
down on the surface and he sees Hera, and who else was she with? Kanan.
Everybody.
Well, it was the Ghost Crew, except minus Ezra and Sabine.
Yeah, and he was like
And Chopper.
totally like lording over them, you know, like a total douche.
Yeah, and that's it. That's his glory. He's like, I got them. Look at this.
Hey, did you guys find it cool to see right before the ground force assault? I found it endlessly cool to see Rex talking strategy again. Like that just hit me right in the face. Hey, wait! Here's a Clone Wars moment. It's Rex pointing out, here's how we're gonna do this.
I got super nervous. Because I always assume that something terrible is going to happen at a season finale. Maybe it's like the fact that we watch Walking Dead.
Do we?
Well,
We've kind of backed out of that.
Anyways, I was terrified that we were going to lose him in this one.
Well,
We are at some point, but
I almost got
Maybe not.
I got
he'll die at the old clone troopers home.
just going back to the beginning of part 1. I got really scared at the beginning when did you guys get this feeling at all? Like I had a sense of foreboding with Ezra and Kanan when they had to go their separate ways. The way Kanan was talking to Ezra, I was like, ooh, like that's kind of sounds like he's like, I can't teach you anymore. Like you're.
I think that's foreshadowing, but I don't
Sorry.
I don't think that was ever going to happen in this episode.
Yeah, I didn't get the sense of immediate danger.
I was scared. I don't know if you guys caught this last night. I probably like 9 p.m. last night after I got my kid to bed. I tweeted to the whole Ghost crew something like, be safe tomorrow night. We love you guys. Like, may the force be with you. And yeah, Vanessa Marshall liked it. Zeb liked it. Steve Blum. I got like 40 something, 50 something likes. It was awesome. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I was surprised.
So here's the point in the episode where things start to get crazy, where you have walkers, both the 2-legged and 4-legged, Death Troopers in action, Mandalorians versus the Empire, epic space battles, epic ground battles. I mean, for what we didn't get in consequence, in like hard-hitting personal consequences, we got in like full-on action. Like this was nuts, Corey.
Yeah, big time. I'm almost surprised. Well, not really. The rebellion's kind of like a mishmash of stuff, but I was kind of sad to see their defenses. Like, remember, like right before the AT-ATs come in through the shield, Zeb's like, "Yeah, blow the charges," and it's just like, poof, like nothing happens. It's like, oh man, okay, well, we tried. Take cover. Yeah, I just in the long run, I would have thought they would have been more prepared for a ground assault.
Well, I mean, there was no reason for them to expect to be ambushed.
Well, just be prepared for an ambush. You know what I mean?
They had put all their energy and focus into
the Lothal thing.
Attacking.
I know.
Yeah, they. I mean, I would assume that they felt that this planet's not on the charts, so they'll never find us. And if they do, it'll be after we attack them, and we'll be out of here.
Well, it's not necessarily true. They knew they got Fulcrum, and I don't think they got like complacent knowing that they have Fulcrum feeding in this information. But Fulcrum's still probably telling them, like, "Guy, he's hot on your trail, but I'm doing my best."
They should have catapulted like slug sashimi onto those little walkers, and then the spiders would have gotten them.
Yeah, that would have been cool if Bendu would have got the spiders to get involved or something.
Maybe that could have been cool if I think if they had done more of a stormtrooper focused attack.
That's true.
All right, so I mean back to Sabine, who gets pulled into the battle. So Ezra convinces, I guess, the mom that yeah, you could take a few ships and go do what you can, and so off they go, and we get this cool sequence of like a spacewalk. And it's Mandalorians on the hull of the interdictor ship that they're trying to take out. And then they're attacked by rocket troopers. So this just keeps getting crazier and crazier. Lightsabers in space, rocket troopers, Mandalorians versus the Empire. It was pretty wild, man.
It's so odd to me. Like think about it. How many ships did they lose in the process? Like, I think they lost about 4 frigates just to get Ezra out. Ezra goes out and brings back a handful of fighter ships or starfighters, and like, I don't know. It's kind of
sort of a failed mission on Ezra's part, but it's also from Mon Mothma saying,
I can't help.
We can't do anything. Can't help you.
Yeah, what's that about?
But regardless, like all the loss to get Ezra out, for him to come back with this small amount of fighters to do, initiate the plan that they did. Like I granted they're Mandalorians, and I guess maybe only Mandalorians could have pulled something like that off. You know, like walking on an interdictor and shutting it down. But you know, why couldn't he have come up with that plan with like hundreds of other troops on these other frigates? Like, we got to get on that ship, like boots on the ground style, instead of like, let's go trash the cargo thing, go get the 5 Mandalorian ships and take like a handful of Mandalorian warriors over here, and you know what I mean?
Absolutely. The thing is, like, they're in the middle of a civil war. They send over a handful of ships, and they get the job done. With Mon Mothma, this is your cause, too. Shouldn't you be more invested in it?
Well, she is invested, but what we're seeing from her is that she's just not she's not someone who's just going to keep rubber stamping more resources. Like, she's got to think of the big picture. So, I mean, we're seeing it.
It's almost a
see
lost
in
cause
Rogue One.
at that point for her to send people to help them, sadly.
In Rogue One, she shuts down the attack on the Scarif base. In Empire's End, she's again not somebody who's just like, yeah, let's everybody get in your ship and go. Like, she's thinking big picture, and she shows more restraint than I think we'd want her to. It's only in Return of the Jedi where she's like, this is it. This is go time. So we haven't really touched on Bendu, and he's pissed. His wires have touched, and once Kanan has sort of trash talked him into action, he manifests himself into this storm. I guess literally and physically, he turns himself into a storm that Kanan picks up on. Kanan tells Hera that he may, or is it Hera?
Yeah, she's like, "Where's your friend?" He's like, "He's coming."
I think.
I think. Yeah.
Well, I think he also tells Rex and Zeb that he may or may not be coming. But by the time, he does tell Hera that.
Right, by the time he gets to her, he's got a better feeling about it. I was like, how does he know? You're like, the Force, stupid.
Yeah, and he once Thrawn captures the crew, and I thought that was a pretty cool shot where Thrawn and the Death Troopers are facing off against, like standing face to face against Hera, Kanan, and the rest of the team. It was almost like a very Walking Dead moment with like the Governor or Negan standing face to face with the survivors.
And you know what's funny about that? Like, we all know that Hera and Kanan have a thing, and even in this episode, like, if you ever had a doubt before, she's like, what did she say? "Come home, my love," or "Come home, love." Just come home.
Just love, not my love.
Well, do we need any more confirmation?
No, but I mean,
did we ever?
Even Thrawn got the picture. He's talking to Captain Syndulla, and he goes, "I'm gonna start with your Jedi friend." Like, ooh, kissy, you know.
But did he mean that like because you love him, or because he's valuable because he's a Jedi?
No, I think he's.
I better take out the Jedi while I still have 6 Death Troopers.
Yeah.
No, I see it more like I know you and him have a thing.
You think? Kanan's the one guy that Thrawn hasn't talked about all year. He's talked about Ezra, Sabine. He knows Sabine really well, apparently. He knows Hera.
Maybe he's smart enough, just like you, Kyle. I heard you say something once that you're not going to get involved in something, an argument, let it be Star Wars or sports, if you don't have the facts. If you don't 100% know your confirmation and your facts, you're not going to get...
No, I said I wouldn't make a bet that I don't know I can win.
Well, you're not going to get involved in something you don't know about, kind of, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean... Yeah, okay, go on.
So it's kind of the same case there.
Maybe, I suppose, but it is odd. I mean, Thrawn never spoke about Kanan. Not that I know
That's what
of.
I'm saying. Like, why would he say, like, maybe he just didn't have enough information to speak about, like, he's not going to start speaking about someone, like, that he doesn't know about.
Well, then why would he know that him and Hera are a thing?
Well, because he's more into Hera. Like, he's had more interaction with Hera.
So are you saying that Thrawn loves Hera?
Oh, no, stop it.
Oh, God. I'm sorry.
trashing the studio here.
Yeah, I just knocked the mic.
Put down
with
the
my
wine
foot.
glass, will you?
Oh, stop.
No, I don't know. I don't think Thrawn knows anything about Kanan. I don't think he knows anything about their relationship. I feel like it's more of a tactical thing. I'm going to start with the Jedi because, like I said, I've got 6 Death Troopers, and 6 Death Troopers are better than 3 Death Troopers against a Jedi. So
Yeah.
I'll start there. But maybe you're right. Maybe it's because he knows that they're a thing, and it would hurt Hera the most to lose.
Either
Kanan.
way, both points make sense. He's an asset to the rebellion as well. So
But that was a cool scene, and in a way, I wonder how that would have played out if Thrawn gave the go ahead to start going after Kanan. How that would have ended. Any bets? Any thoughts?
Not well
For
everybody else. I think Kanan would have prevailed. This is a children's show.
it's funny. We watched Rebels Recon after
know.
this, and ad nauseum they're saying, "I don't think of this as a kids show.
But
We don't think of this as a kids show."
Fine, but Disney does think of it as a kids show.
Sure. I mean, I guess there's a different ways to tackle it. Disney put it on one of their cartoon networks, so ergo it's a kids show. But the creators are not thinking of it that
and
way.
it works
they're
in
also-
both
they're also
regards
working within a
too.
framework.
Like it works
Right.
for kids for the Flash and the real light storyline kind of. They love that, but viewers like you and I, like, we could see through so many layers of what they're actually trying to do that it's both.
But I think that may be the driving force behind why we don't see Kanan massacred. Like, he doesn't get shot to bits when the whatchamacallits are firing.
Oh, that's smart too. Like Kyle had said that a couple of weeks ago, that if we ever see these guys like Kanan die, like, there's a good way it'll be a beautiful death, you know, like there's a good chance of that anyhow.
I'm sorry, but even Maul got a beautiful death.
Yeah, that it was.
Anyway, so here's Bendu. He's laying waste to rebels and Imperials on Atollon in this gigantic thunderstorm with lightning. And how did you feel about this, Corey? Is this sort of force usage jumping the shark here, or was it too much, or do you think this is pretty cool? I'm into this.
I was into it, that's for sure, because I've been waiting to see what the Bendu is, what he can do. Still, again, none of that's really truly been answered. But yeah, like the power behind his capabilities was interesting to me. And again, the fact that he wasn't picking sides and just trashing everyone was just like, get out of here, like Rebels, Empire, everybody, like, I don't care. It was really, really cool to me. Like, I love that character. I love the way he looks. The Tempest was a little odd to me.
What you mean? You like the way he looks? He looks like a big fungusy toenail.
Oh, he's like a rock moose.
Yeah, my son called him a moose. I go with he just looks like he's like a blind dude with I don't know. I like the way he looks. He's got antlers and just totally ancient. I'm down with the ancient Jedi Force stuff. So still super intrigued by this character, and I love the power that he was able to display. It was incredible. Like, wow. Like,
yeah, it might be the grandest display of force power that we've seen in Star Wars, period.
But do we know that that's force power entirely? We don't know much about the rock moose. It could be part of his species capability.
I think it's largely force powered.
I don't
Yeah,
even
and it
know.
just goes to say
I don't
how-
even know if he is a species. Like, I think he just maybe possibly chooses his form.
Yeah, maybe. We definitely don't know enough about him. Maybe we never will. Maybe that's the point of this guy. So here's another I'm annoyed with you, Thrawn moment. Aim or concentrate your fire at the center of the storm. What? Like,
Well, it worked, didn't it? It popped out
fine.
of the sky.
Well, of course it worked because the episode needs to end and they have to stop Bendu somehow. But come on.
No, I have
Like,
to.
How does he know that? How does he know
Oh,
that?
no, this I have no problem with. Listen, if there is a big giant cloud shooting crap at you, you point your gun at the center of the big giant cloud. Don't you? Isn't that just logic?
Yeah, at least you got to you got to start there. Like, you have the eyes, the face of, like,
Where would you point it? At
I
the
would-
ground?
I wouldn't think to fire my weapons at a cloud. It's a nebulous thing.
And that's why you have never won a space battle.
Oh, well, now I'll know.
Yeah.
So, like, next time I have a thunderstorm passes over my head, I'll get my rifle out and start shooting at it at the center of the cloud, and that will stop the storm.
If it has eyes and it's speaking to you,
Exactly. If it is a voice and a face.
it doesn't hurt to try.
then maybe.
It doesn't hurt. Okay. I'll get, just for the record, I do not own a rifle.
But I think one of our downfalls right now is that we're recording having just seen it, like not 30 minutes before recording. One time.
Yeah, no, this is the first. We've never recorded our Rebels thoughts immediately after
And
watching.
usually, like, yeah, always I'll watch the episode minimum twice. So, like, I think it almost seems, from what I can recall at this point, like he's squinting. It's almost as if he sees something. Like, he knows something's at the center of the storm. But I'd have to watch it again to confirm.
So anyway, once again, Thrawn's hunch pays off, and you see Bendu's, I guess, damaged, broken, dying body hurtling back towards the planet. It looks like a falling meteor. Yeah. And I wasn't sure if it's because he was hurt or if this is just Bendu rocketing back to the planet's surface so that he can personally stomp on Thrawn. Like, I was actually genuinely worried about Thrawn at this moment. That
I really thought that was going to happen too, and I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, like I was like, oh Christ, like Bendu's gonna come stomping up like King Kong and just like mash them all.
No, it's so good. I love the way they did that.
But instead, it was the end of Bendu. Really, it was.
Well, we don't know that.
Well, we still hurt him, I guess, but the end of his body is the end of that physical form.
Even he totally. I want to use this word, but I can't. But he mind blanked Thrawn. Like Thrawn at the end was like, whoa, what just happened? Like, it had him reeling. Like, it looked like his bullet went empty, right? It looked like it hit right into the dirt. Or is...
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, he force ghosted.
Maybe that's just the thing of the Rock moves.
Yeah.
He can disappear.
And he's done it before already in this season.
Yeah, you're right. He has. So yeah, he can force ghost on command. He took off. But before leaving, he sort of gave Thrawn a bit of a lesson, saying, yeah, you and all your plans and all your strategy and all this stuff, you think you see everything, but you don't see like I can see, and I see your defeat.
He says, I see your death.
That cut right through.
He says, I see your death.
Did he say your death or your defeat?
I'm pretty sure he says death. And he says, what does he say? He's like, he talks about arms. Like,
yeah, 1,000 cold arms around you. Surrounding you.
It almost reminded me of like the Sarlacc. But those would be warm arms.
It's the difference.
Okay, here's what Star Wars fans are going to speculate on. What was Bendu talking about? What could he possibly be saying?
Well, I think it's safe to say that Thrawn's going to die before Rogue One.
No, Thrawn will die in
season 4
in Rebels.
Season 4,
quite possibly. If season 4 ends up being the last season, I would say yeah.
Even not.
Well, maybe not even.
He's going to be a continuous villain.
Probably not. He might die. He might be. The first half of season 4 might be a lead up to one final battle with Thrawn's forces.
Yeah.
And that would be the end of Thrawn, and then if I'm working under the assumption that season 4 might be the last for Rebels, and then the second half of season 4 would be the run up to the Battle of Scarif. But I don't know. We're jumping way ahead. So I mean that was it for 0 Hour Part 2.
Whoa! You're missing one big thing here, bro.
What am I missing?
Who survived?
Everybody. Minus Sato.
Yeah, but who's the big character that we all said is he's
Kallus, yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought Kallus was a goner for sure.
What did he do? They pulled a 52 pickup on him, no?
Yeah, he got away. I'm shocked.
Me too.
And this is what I don't understand. Why they kept him alive on Lothal. Why they kept him alive on the ship. If they're going to keep him alive, why do they keep him there watching everything? He knows everything.
And again, another big oversight by Price. Like, here, special agent, get in the elevator with these two dummy bucket heads.
Yeah.
Throw them in the airlock.
That's exactly what I said. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to end well for those two stormtroopers. Even Callus with his arms tied behind his back. Ding, elevator opens, and the stormtroopers
Yeah, he had a smirk right away. He was like, he was like, let's do this.
Yeah, that was another one of Price's errors, where she was a deer in the headlights once she was given command. And yeah, I'm absolutely shocked that he survived. I was convinced, and the way I looked at it was, in season 1 we lost on the dark side. We lost the Inquisitor. Season 2 we quote unquote lost Ahsoka from the light side, and so I thought in season 3 we'd lose someone who kind of walked both sides of the fence, i.e., the middle, which is something we've been talking about.
We did.
All over the place in Star Wars.
We did. If you consider that Bendu died.
Well, he's still around. We heard his voice.
No, I know, but like you were saying, his physical body, even though I'm saying maybe that's part of his capabilities, but he got injured and presumably evaporated from physical space.
Maybe. But yeah, I that was my rationale behind losing Callus, and that was not the case. So on he goes. He's going to be, I guess, embedded with the rebellion now. So Corey, what's up with Callus now? Is he a loose end that still has to be tied up since we don't see him in the original trilogy? Will he go back to being an Imperial, or will he eventually get killed off?
I'm really hoping he's not like a triple agent. That would be lame. But
like it was all a put on.
Yeah.
To get him actually,
it would
that was my big plan.
It would make no sense though after having seen him in Ezra's apartment and whatnot.
No, that would be a huge stretch.
Yeah, so yeah, I think he's gonna get his own little command. Maybe he'll join Phoenix Squadron, but he definitely maybe starts the Fulcrum program.
Well, we're getting awfully close to the A New Hope era now. It would seem like the Fulcrum thing is ending, getting close to being over.
That's true.
But if he's absorbed into the rebellion, then he just probably goes on to commanding something, and he just does his thing, and we don't hear about him.
I would see him in like intelligence. Like he has the know-how. He knows how the Empire works, so that's a valuable asset.
Indeed, and I wonder if that's exactly why he needs to be tied up and whacked at some point. Anything before we're done? I think we're done with our sort of our summary of the episode. But any final thoughts, Corey?
It was a really good episode. Again, like somewhat predictable, but I think it's what we needed at this point. It's hitting the reset button. So next season, I think we're starting on Yavin 4. We're encroaching on the New Hope era, the Rogue One era. This story is going to be wrapping up shortly, so it's a good way to set up the next season. It was an epic battle. We needed to see it. Really surprised that Thrawn... I do not see this as a victory for the Rebels or the Empire. I think Thrawn really kind of got it handed to him in a way.
I mean, yeah, and that's... I mean, I agree with what you said of it being sort of a resetting of the table, but it's one of my complaints, like of this season finale, that there's no ramifications. Like, fine, we lost Sato, and the Rebels lost a bunch of resources, a lot of ships and a bunch of people and a base, but for us as the viewer, we're like, I didn't feel any of these losses. I thought we were going to lose somebody and then be like, walk away going, oh man, that was a bummer.
That hurt.
But there was none of that. Instead, they had this epic battle, and in the end, they mostly got away pretty clean. That's the way I saw it anyway. And
yes, but I think it's a major loss for Thrawn personally, that he tried.
Yeah, I mean, we were given Thrawn, this calculating guy who was going to figure you out before you figured yourself out, and his plan blew up in his face, and that mostly because he trusted his own people.
So is it so terrible that it's kind of a feel-good episode because they didn't get decimated by the Empire? Is that the problem, that we are looking for it to be a tragedy?
Well, I think you're just looking for the exclamation point on the episode.
Yeah, there's too many, that's it. Thrawn got screwed over by the variables of the Mandalorian, the Bendu.
And his own people's
yeah.
incompetence.
Constantine!
Yeah. Like Constantine, what did he do? He needed the glory of that kill.
He's
and
like, no, Thrawn's gone
I'm tired
too
of
far.
your games, Thrawn.
Yeah. He's like, return to your position. He's like,
Yeah. Anyway, I feel like the rebels got stronger in this. They lost that dodo bird in Sato, and I really think it's addition by subtraction.
yeah, makes sense.
Anyway, I think my only other real nitpick was that we didn't get any Death Trooper garble talk.
Wow, that's a pretty small nitpick.
I already got all my nitpicks out. Anyway, that's it. Candace, any final words before we wrap it up here?
No, I guess my small nitpick is that there wasn't enough Chopper.
Yeah, tell me
Jeez.
about it, sister.
Jesus.
I'm preaching to the choir.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, well, if we missed anything, hopefully our very keen listeners will clue us in and say what a bad job we did. And now we promise to try and do better next season. Really looking forward to that. And look, Celebration's right around the corner, so we'll have to reconvene in a few weeks here and discuss what we're bound to see at Celebration for Season 4. Sound good, Corey?
Indeed it does.
All right, well, through the magic of editing, you're going to hang up and go to bed, as am I. But listeners are going to just continue right on with what's been so far. I'm going to guess is a great Tumbling Saber podcast. So, thanks everybody for listening to our Rebels Ramblings. Maybe that should be the show title. Thanks for listening to our Rebels Ramblings, and let's get back into the podcast. But first, we got to say goodbye to Candace.
Bye, Candace. Awesome job.
I have to go.
Yeah, we're done talking about Rebels.
No,
We're jumping into the future now.
okay. Bye.
You know what? If people want to say hi to you, where can people find you on Twitter?
Oh, I'm at Little Snook.
There you go. Thank you, Candace. Thanks. It was nice to have you here to talk Rebels. We'll see you again in 2018. All right, everybody. We're jumping back to the future here. We're going to get James back in, and I'm going to guess we're going to do some ads edition. And just like that, by the magic of editing, man, is technology great. We are back in the present time. Corey, just to sum up, I mean, it's hard to say, and to sum up our thoughts on 0 Hour Part 1 and 2, and again, thank you to Candace for sort of stepping in. I liked having someone in the room with me to bounce ideas off of, so an actual flesh and blood person to have while I podcast. It was nice. Hopefully, maybe she'll come back later in the fall to do more live breakdowns of some episodes. We'll see how that plays out. We need our 3-year-old to cooperate for that to happen. But I boiled it down to this. I say that 0 Hour as a finale was a spectacle, but not spectacular.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting
Give
it.
Ron McClane a run for his money.
Like as far as action goes and crazy things that you could just fanboy flail over for hours, it was all there. But the ending, like we'd expect, season 1 gave us a pretty heavy ending. Season 2 definitely did, in one of the greatest pieces of Star Wars that's out there, in my opinion. And then season 3, cool episode, fun. Which counts for something. I'm absolutely not dismissing it as a boring episode by any stretch. But, we're kind of still in the same place as before. And you know what? I think it might be appropriate if we do like a season 3 retrospective.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe we'll do that next week, and maybe some early thoughts for season 4, what we might expect out of that. We'll get together and we'll talk about that, see if that's worth putting together. But for now, we can touch base with Ads, who sent us another great question this week. So let's take a quick second here to hear Ads' question for the week.
Good evening, chaps. So this week's question is all about a Twitter exchange I had with Corey and a few other individuals, and specifically about Chopper and where you think he might stand in the Star Wars droid arena. So for me, R2-D2 is a clear number one, but then thereafter we've got Chopper, we've got BB-8, we've obviously got C-3PO, K-2SO, the list goes on. So where do you think Chopper lies in that list? And perhaps let's extend the question, what would be your top 5 and in what order? So as always, I look forward to listening. I hope everyone's well and long
There he
live
is
the
again.
Commonwealth.
Ads, thank you, sir. It's so comforting to hear Ads' voice. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
I really don't,
have to
but-
agree.
It's like a cozy, warm blanket. You know, I feel more mellow now, just having listened to Ads. I'm gonna lean back a little further in my chair. So Corey, give us some context here. This Twitter conversation you had, was this sort of like a battle royale of droids, or was this sort of just a straight up list of your favorite droids?
No, it was actually StarWars.com would they were asking they said, who's your favorite droid, guys? Like, let us know. So yeah, the list was going on and on. Like, there was thousands and thousands of replies and likes and whatever. And so I chimed in. I said Chopper, and yeah, it turns out I ran into a nasty little troll. Yeah, it's actually still going on. It's really bad. It's
Oh no.
yeah, and I'm not even involved anymore. Like, I haven't written in this conversation since Friday, and it's like someone else chimed in, like they had my back, and yeah, they're still going at it. Like, this guy's like straight up like, Dave Filoni's a madman. I don't know what he's thinking. Rebels sucks. Like, you all suck. Chopper sucks. Like, it's not even Star Wars. So like, people were kind of taking that personally, but me, I'm just kind of the guy, like, I'll just sit back and yeah, like,
No, I know you. Don't act like you're being all cool and calm about this. You wanna get involved. You just
no, like,
hopefully you know better.
yeah, I know better, and there's no point when you see someone that's rambling like this. You obviously know that there's no point.
No, there's that. Just the guy has absolute positions. Like, this is not Star Wars. Well, guess what? It is. You don't have to like it, but it's Star Wars, and you can't argue with people like that.
No.
So there's no point. You can mute the guy, block the guy, or it sounds like you're doing a decent job of ignoring him. But
It just won't end.
yeah, there's just
I'm almost thinking that the other person, because both of them have like so few followers, that I'm almost thinking that the other person that's got my back, it's almost like the same person that's created 2 accounts, and they're fighting with themselves for attention. Like, it's scary, man.
and Dave Filoni's the madman.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, just ask you. The other thing you could do is just say, guys, untag me from this conversation. This is crazy.
Yeah, if I get another notification, it's definitely going to come to that.
That's stupidity. So this was just straight up. Who are your favorite droids in Star Wars?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. James, let's reel you back in here, buddy. Your favorite Star Wars droids.
Top
Should
5.
we do this round table, or should we go 5-1 round table?
Sure.
All right. So let's, James, start with your number 5.
Chopper.
Ooh, Corey.
Gonk.
Well, actually, you know what? Hold on. What about Chopper? Briefly, what do you like about Chopper?
He's like, and another droid on this list too is K2SO, and I like the fact that like droids are usually super obedient, and both of them come with a little extra attitude, which I find funny on a droid.
Fair enough. Corey, did you say gonk?
I'm doing it for Keegan. Yeah, so,
Fair enough.
yeah, that's my reasoning, and I love the Gonk droid too. Come on, Gonk.
The McDonald's garbage
Yeah,
can.
it's so
It
good.
is such a McDonald's garbage can. It's so good.
I've thought that since I was like 6 years old. From
Me
the
too.
first time I saw Star Wars, like, oh my god, it's a McDonald's trash can,
Yep.
which says a lot for McDonald's.
That they were able to get that in the movie, yeah.
That their trash can is identifiable. That's an interesting left field pick there, Corey. I gotta say, I like it. But James, Chopper is number 5 on my list too. I
There you
just
go.
love his ornery, grumpy disposition.
Yeah, agreed.
We didn't talk about this, Corey, but when he was about to go left and Ezra was going to go right, and he looks at Ezra, looks at forward, looks at Ezra, looks forward.
Yeah.
There's just that sigh. Like, when does a droid sigh? Why would a droid need to sigh? But he did, and I
Awesome.
thought it was funny.
It's the
Really
sand,
funny.
man. He's like, oh, like, here we go.
Well, I mean, let's not try and rationalize why a droid needs to sigh out loud. It was just funny. We can leave it at that. It was funny, and I think Chopper is a cool, quirky, funny droid who is also a real asshole at times. An endearing asshole. All right, James, you're number 4.
All right, BB-8. Why? Because he could be. Maybe he'll be higher after a few more movies. He's got a lot of R2 like qualities, but really he's just. I'm going to offend some people probably, but really he's just like sort of a second tier R2.
That's well, you know what? I'm gonna just jump in. It's almost like we're copying from the same list. BB-8 is also my number 4. And for basically the same reasons. He's R2 again, just in a far more radical design. He's got the cute look that we first identified with R2. He's loyal and resourceful and all that stuff that R2 is, just in a maybe even a cuter package.
Yeah, maybe cuter, but not as nostalgic.
Definitely not. But you're right. I think as the years go on, BB-8 will probably climb this list, I would think. I think he's got everything going for him to be as iconic and lovable as R2.
It's really
Corey, who's your number 4?
Yeah, we're really speaking the same language here. I have BB-8, and I also have for the exact same reasons. James said it. I like the way James put it better, but he's a second tier R2, and he's kind of just retrofit to fit our 21st century lifestyles, kind of cater to our 21st century needs, whatever. Hey, but he's a great character, and again, you guys said it. Who knows? He's been in one movie. And, he's probably bound to be in the whole trilogy and a main character at that. So our perspective, this list could be quite liquid.
And he's also voiced by two guys who I like a lot in Bill Hader. Love Bill Hader.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
the Bills.
And geez, now his name escapes me now. Ben Schwartz from House of Lies. Love that show with Don Cheadle, Kristen Bell. Great stuff. And he's a slimy character in that show, but in a good way. Anyway, number 3, we're at the midway point. James, who's your cresting the hill here? Who's your number 3?
3PO.
Ooh, Carlos, you hear that? Shots fired. Oh, 3PO, Goldenrod. So
Yeah, that's
what do you like about
Carlos's droid.
Goldenrod?
Yeah, sorry, Carlos. I know I didn't put him number 1. I knew that. I kept that for Candido. And he was almost number 2 for me. I hesitated back and forth. But there's just, he's. I remember eating 3POs, like the cereal, like when I was a kid. There's just so much with him in R2, and so I couldn't leave him off the list, and I just had to slot him in between like all my new favorites because there's so many new cool droids out there.
I think you can still find boxes of unopened 3PO cereal.
The question is, would you
And I
eat
bet you
it?
still
Even if
edible.
it was opened, it would taste the same.
Absolutely it would. I'm sure whatever preservatives they were using in the 80s that they sprayed these things with, I'm sure they're pristine, man. Hey, did I ever tell you guys that in 2005, I think, or 6, I ate the bubblegum out of 1987 Topps baseball cards?
How was it?
The taste was the same, but it
was
was like
hard and brittle, eh?
hard and brittle, never really coalesced into a chewing wad of gum. Never happened. It just, something happened over the 20 years. Can't imagine how, but I do not recommend. 0 on 10 for recommendations on that. Do not eat old gum out of baseball cards. Okay, Corey, you're number 3.
Got number 3 ringing in with K2SO.
Well, he's the new kid on the block. I don't know if you need to really dive deeply into what makes K2SO so cool so quickly, but go ahead.
Well, first of all, I love Alan Tudyk, and his character was great comic relief for Rogue One. He was snippy, he had the attitude, he was powerful. Just a lot of things, but I like the look. His toy is amazing. But yeah, he was just one of the best parts of Rogue One. One of the best characters for sure.
Oh, you said it right there.
Well, I'll tell you what, the K2SO Disney Elite Series figure, mwah. Oh, is he nice.
Better than the
Should I unbox those?
I think those are the kind of ones you can kind of, even if you unbox it, you could put it back in the box, no?
I don't know. I'm putting an SOS to Tim and Troy at the Nerd Room here. Do I unbox these things, guys? 'Cause I have the K2SO Black Series and now the diecast Disney Elite. I feel like one of them's got to come out. I gotta be able to get my hands on one of my K2SO figures. Anyway, I'm putting that to you guys over at the Nerd Room. What do you think, guys? Okay, so Corey, your number 3 was K2SO. My number 3, AP5, baby.
Nice. Wow.
AP5. Yeah, I love him. I love him. Fueled almost exclusively by Double Agent Droid. I thought that episode is so funny to me. Specifically him kind of just drifting off into space and being happy with it and being angry when he was rescued. That to me is still so funny, and I love Steven Stanton for channeling Alan Rickman. I love the character. He's always just so surly. Nothing is good enough for this guy.
He definitely made my short list, that's for sure. But
AP5 coming in, cresting the hill for me at the midway point. All right, James, we're back to you. You're number 2.
My number 2 is Corey's number 3, K2SO. He displaced 3PO. I had 3PO as my number 2 for a long time, but I just switched him out the last minute for 2 reasons. Corey touched one of them. 3PO was never the best part of any movie, and K2SO might have been.
Agreed.
And his death was so heroic, and I guess Candido's probably not as glad as me that 3PO's not dead yet, but that traumatic death bumped him up above 3PO on my list.
Corey? This is your runner-up. We're getting serious here.
Yeah,
and I think we're also getting quite obvious.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're all gonna. You know what? I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna put R2 at number 2. Let's stay true to my boy.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking. I wonder what you're gonna do for number 1.
Yeah, I love R2 to death. Don't get me wrong. And when I look at this, it's fluid. It's hard to pick between these guys. You know, I almost feel guilty saying it. Just spoken like a true Star Wars fan, but I almost do feel like grabbing an R2 toy and being like, "Yo, bro, I'm sorry."
For some fans out there, the haters, they're like, you picked something that's basically not Star Wars over the classic Star Wars droid.
Yeah. I love Chop, man. He's just
I love your love for him. I think that's the right choice.
I think if you ask enough people, all the droids that we mentioned so far would end up at number 1 at some point. There are people out there who would have put 3PO at number 1. No jokes.
Oh, for sure.
And as much as Carlos might bristle at that, hey, to each their own. I'm okay with that. He's not on my. I'll say it now. Spoiler. He's not in my top 5.
Bristle means excited, right?
No, it does not. All right. So my number 2, James. I'm sorry to keep echoing you. Are we in an echo chamber here? But K2SO, rocketing up the list. 3 months. He's been in our lives for roughly 3 months, maybe closer to 4. He's number 2. He's past everybody. And for me, again, it's like Corey said, it's the Alan Tudyk effect. He just rocked that character so hard. And James, like you said, his death is, for me, I think it's emotionally, it's the roughest one to deal with in the whole movie. The droid. The
No
droid who
doubt.
feels no pain. And it's his death that you're like, oh god, this got dark and this sucks, man. Like no other human death for the heroes bummed me out more than K2. And it's also because I was more than pleasantly surprised. You guys know, everybody knows that I was afraid that they were going to turn this character into a super duper Swiss Army knife of a character, like a jump the shark type character, and they didn't. They kept him, a very grounded piece of technology, and gave him just a superb character, just outstanding. I'm so happy with what we got, and it's a bummer that we're only going to see him in one movie. Hopefully we get to see him somewhere else. I would love for Alan Tudyk to pick up the character somewhere else. Hopefully Cassian makes it to Rebels. There's a spot where maybe we could see K2SO enter even for one more episode. That would be fantastic. But yeah, K2SO, man, I love that droid. And now we get to the anticlimactic top spot on our list. James, there's got to be the one, the chosen one of droids. Who is it?
Gonk.
The trash can reigns.
Of course it's R2. Come on. Class, you can't not take the droid who's got the most iconic sounds in Star Wars.
I agree.
True.
I actually think R2 might be the chosen one.
Imagine that.
He's definitely got it all recorded.
That's a hell of a hard drive. Yeah, I mean, do we need to explain why R2 takes number one on this list? Like, just the most resourceful, loyal little dog droid of all time?
Yeah, they managed to make a funny little box that makes silly little squeaks and beeps into everybody's favorite pet. So well done, and everybody loves him. How can you not put him number one?
That's that's a credit to the designers who made him. That's Kenny Baker. Hopefully Jimmy V carries that torch. People who use like remote controls to carry the character, all those guys just made this such a memorable character for so many reasons. And even when he gets blasted by Vader in A New Hope, again similar to K2SO, you feel so bad for him. Like you feel like you've lost someone really core to the story, like someone close to you. It speaks to how well they've taken a machine and made it feel real. Corey, I know your number one deviates slightly, so why don't you tell us the virtues of C-110P Chopper?
Yeah, he's a bucket of bolts. Like literally, he's just a mishmash of pieces, and he's been around since the Clone Wars, and he's been there, he's done that, but he's just at the same time, he's even though no matter how bitter and stuff he is, he's got a heart of gold. He really does take after his crew. He's brave, he's courageous, like he's a fighter, like he's super resourceful. He's just all around a great astromech.
I think also part of what makes Chopper likable is the fact that he looks like a pile of scrap.
Yeah, you almost feel sorry for him in a way.
Yeah, he's just held together with duct tape and spit, and I think that adds to the character. He just keeps on keeping on. But my number one, James, our lists were almost identical, which is pretty astounding. I think we only deviated at number 3.
That's right.
So R2. It's R2. Just so resourceful. Save the main characters time and time again throughout all 6 movies. What else can you say about this guy? I don't know. I'm sure I'm stuttering and stammering here, but everybody's nodding. I'm sure everybody's nodding, going, "Yeah, I get it. Move on." R2 is the coolest little droid. I think again part of it is he's the first droid that made you feel this for the droid the way you feel about your dog. He's your pet except way smarter. But ads, that is a good one, man. More of that. That was a really cool question to round table here.
Always good stuff from ads. Always.
Any honorable mention droids that we could have thrown on this list?
I had AP5 on mine.
Well, yeah, my honorable mention is headed by C-3PO.
Well,
He had to be on. He had to be in the conversation somewhere for me. Just I like everybody else that I mentioned better. Also, I had to have the waitress droid from Jetster's Dexter Jetster's Diner.
really, eh?
No, that's a joke.
I wanted. It was
Couldn't stand that droid.
David Tennant's the one that he voiced, the Professor Huang, the guy that was teaching them how to build their sabers. He was kind of cool.
Yep. The old, was he like a Jedi archive droid?
Yeah. He'd been around. I think he said it for over 1,000 years.
Yeah,
I bet you Carlos Candido's second favorite droid is Dot Matrix from Spaceballs.
Well, I mean, the wig just does so much for her. Other droids that deserve mention here. Oh, geez. The one from Jabba's Palace? The EV-99? How about 21B, the medical droids? They deserve some kind of mention here, no?
Yeah, sure.
Whatever.
What
What
about
about,
IG-88?
what about the bad guy droids from the prequels, like the destroyer droids and stuff?
some of the battle droids are pretty cool.
Who's going to put Mr. Bones on their list from the Aftermath series? Somebody's going to chime in and say Mr. Bones was too cool. You guys dropped the ball for not putting that droid on your list.
Well, not anymore. We just picked up the ball. Now we're running with it.
There's one
Nice.
story arc in the Clone Wars where there's like a pack of like 4 or 5 droids that go out on a mission. It's like a 3-part story arc, so it's not trivial, you know. I think one of them was called QT. She was like a pink droid. She was kind of cool. And the leader, what?
KT.
Yeah, eh?
Yeah.
Who's the guy that thought he was in charge? Well, it was really R2 in charge, but there was the guy that he's got the one eye, the small little guys. You see them first on Tatooine in Episode 1. They were like fixing
the pit droids.
Yeah,
The pit droids.
yeah.
Yeah, they were cute. R5D4 with the bad motivator. That's another iconic looking droid. Although, you know, to fail so badly, he doesn't make this list. Jeez.
You said IG-88.
Yeah, IG-88. I think he deserves mention.
Eh.
Not my favorite. Not my cup of tea.
What about Forlom? Is he a robot?
I keep getting mixed up between Forlom and Zuckuss and some of those more obscure guys. But I think you might be right. Okay, that's it. Thank you, ads. I mean, we could probably kick this around for a little bit longer, but in the interest of getting this done in an expedient way, we're going to move on. Thank you, sir. Can't wait to hear what you got for us next week. And we'll wrap up the show here with Matt Keegan, who just keeps blowing my mind with his artwork. Dude is just so friggin' talented. It's not fair.
Yeah, that's. Have you seen his the piece, James, that he did, the gun?
Hans Blaster, yeah, I did see it.
Wow,
It's just stupid good. Yeah.
Insanely good.
But I'm no longer surprised when I see that. I'm still just as impressed, but I just expect it to be incredible. And probably when I see something really, really impressive, if I ask him what he thinks, he'll probably shit on it because he's always unhappy with something about it, it seems. But to me, they always look perfect.
Absolutely. Anyway, so he's got a question for us this week, and it goes as such. We know the Force is within all living things, so on planets like Jedha, Tatooine, and Jakku, which are lacking in vegetation and animal life, the Force mainly comes from the population. Obi-Wan feels Alderaan explode, and the void left by the extinguishment of so much life whilst traveling faster than light. So would he have felt the obliteration of such an important Jedi city as the one on Jedha? Tens of thousands of inhabitants suddenly vanished. Would he have felt such an important place to Jedi lore being destroyed? At the time he was chilling out on a planet lacking in life, watching over Luke, and meditating with Qui-Gon. so he was probably very attuned to the Force. Granted, Alderaan had a population in the millions and teeming with life, so it should have left a greater void. And he was heading towards it when it blew. But is the destruction of Alderaan not the first time he felt a great loss of life? Corey, I'm going to kick this over to you first. What do you got to say to Matt and his question?
Yeah, I think for sure, like after having seen this last episode of Rebels Twin Sons, Obi-Wan's playing at a whole new level. Something of this significance, Jedha, first of all, I would think for sure that he had sensed it. Maybe not necessarily being able to put his finger on what had happened. Same thing with Scarif. So, like, by the time Alderaan comes around, it's like, when you see his reaction to it all, it must be like, oh my god, this is like 3 in a week. Like, what is going on here? But yeah, I definitely think that he must have felt something. He's so attuned to the Force, from what we gather at this point, that maybe he doesn't, again, understand it, but he knows that something horrible's happened.
Do you think distance plays a role in this?
Yeah, I disagree. I'm going to take the other stance.
Now, go for it, James.
Well, first of all, distance, even if it doesn't, we have to assume it does because he's far away from these planets, right? So if he can feel them from that far away, how many other planets are also in his reach, and how many other things are just dying of natural causes, from animals to plants to things getting eaten? Like, what's 10,000? I think being close to Alderaan and having it be like millions or billions of people plus all of the life on the entire planet at once makes maybe sense to me for it to be a detectable thing, like an anomaly in like the flow of the Force. But I don't think 10,000 lives or whatever it would be from him sitting on Tatooine doesn't make sense to me. That I mean, he is Obi-Wan. If they wrote it, then I guess I would believe it. But I think there's just so many things dying all the time anyway that it would just feel like part of the natural any other day.
So this is kind of what I kicked over in my mind over and over as I drove out to my parents' house today for my birthday dinner, which Corey did not attend. And I thought about it, and at first I was gonna say, nah, he didn't feel that. Like, I don't know where Scarif lies on the galactic map. Maybe Steven can help us out. He owns the Star Wars Atlas. I don't know where Jedha is in comparison to Tatooine. Maybe they're just too far apart for any type of ripple in the Force to be felt by Obi-Wan. But then I thought, what evidence does he give us that would indicate one way or the other? So I say he knew, but it's tentative, and this, again, like James said, this could change, and I could be convinced either way. But in A New Hope, as they're flying to Alderaan and they come out of hyperspace into the meteor shower, they're all surprised by it, and let's not forget, the Death Star has not been really unveiled to the public yet. And what happened on Jedha was described as a mining disaster, and anybody who witnessed it was wiped out. And then it shot off to Scarif, which I see as sort of an Imperial stronghold anyway. So, again, galaxy-wide news of this planet killer hadn't spread. Certainly hadn't gotten to the Senate, who would have said, whoa, maybe pump the brakes on that machine. Let's talk about this. So when Obi-Wan thinks about it for half a second, thinking about what happened to Alderaan, he says destroyed by the Empire. Now, why would he make that type of assumption? There's nothing there. There's nothing he's seen yet to say destroyed by the Empire. He's just made this connection. But why? And I think it's because he's putting it together now. He'd felt something in the Force not too long ago, i.e. Jedha. He felt something, and something wasn't right with him. And whether it's Leia's message that helped him connect the dots, I feel like he knew that whatever happened to Jedha also happened to Alderaan. So that's my tenuous plan, or my tenuous theory.
Well, it fits nicely into the old, like, that line fits nicely, so why not?
But again, if somebody has a better explanation as to no, he couldn't, because if Steven chimes in and says dude, they're on opposite ends of the galaxy and doubtful that the Force can be felt from that far away. Okay. But then I would say, well then, how does Obi-Wan suddenly know? Destroyed by the Empire. Why would he make that connection? So that's what I've got.
And I don't even know so much if population probably does have some factor to play in it. Like Alderani says, like a million voices cried out at once. But Jedha being somewhat of a limited population, I still think the fact that a whole planet's being destroyed, like these guys are in touch with the fabric of like the Force, you know, like, and plus Jedha's, it was a hub of the Force, and they're mining the place for kyber crystals. I don't know. Again, like, if I hadn't seen Twin Suns last week, I might have had a bit of a different opinion, but I just think Obi-Wan is on top of the Force game.
Yeah,
you're right.
I think you're right about that. I just think the galaxy seems pretty big, and there's a lot of life, man.
There's a ton of life. No, I don't know if the Empire took every single last kyber crystal off of Jedha. It seems unlikely. But you know, as we get to know more about these kyber crystals, I could imagine if you blew up a ton of them with the Death Star, maybe that creates a ripple in the Force strong enough for Obi-Wan to feel. I don't know. I think it's a good question. All right, boys. Matt, thank you, sir. Venerable Knight of the Commonwealth, a huge supporter of the Star Wars Commonwealth. Can't thank you enough for all that you do for us and for all the shows across the Commonwealth. Your tireless support means an awful lot to us.
Yeah, and just a super cool dude, too.
Super cool dude. Man, oh man. We gotta make time for Matt one day to somehow, some way get him on the show. Okay, that is the show. Episode 68 in the books, guys.
We did it.
We did it, man. And again, regretfully, we had to chop out a pretty meaty topic. I really want to get to this. I have copious notes on it, so we'll kick it to next week. I'm looking forward to talking about this next week with you guys. We'll have another packed show by then, I'm sure. Maybe we'll have to punt it another week. But in the meantime, guys, where can we find you? Start with you, Corey.
You can find me at Chop Rules with a Z.
Perfect. And James, where might one find you if they were so inclined?
Still at Tommy Bombadil 1.
Beautiful. I love it. And as usual, I'm at Tumbling Saber on the Twitter, on the Facebook, and Instagram. Look me up. I'd love to connect with you on all those platforms. And again, we'll remind you one more time to go check out the Star Wars Podcast Awards. Cast your vote for the Star Wars Commonwealth for Best Podcast Network. We could truly use your support. And that's about it. Check us out on social media. If you've got 2 minutes to spare, we'd love an iTunes review from you. And again, lastly, I just want to remind you about Endless Star Wars, the new weekly blog piece we've got coming around at Tumbling Saber. We're going to have a new episode this week touching on something that we saw out of Twin Suns. So I've seen some of the replies from some of the interesting bloggers there. Really cool. Can't wait to drop that on you on Monday. Otherwise, we've got Journals of the Willing this week. I'm still trying to race through Empire's End. It's going to be a tight race down to the wire. But thank you all so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll look forward to talking to you on social media. And look forward to giving you another podcast later in the week. So until then, hope you're all doing well. And we'll check in with you again soon. Bye for now.
Self-redeeming qualities, have they hindered me? Hindering, was I blind to see that you need Don't let me go. Time goes on and I'm questioning all the things I've seen, crazy things I've seen as I'm watching you. I'm watching you walking away from me. Were you watching?